This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, welcome to our day 34 in our GCP Cloud Architect training. So today we are going to look into the next set of tools which is going to be used by developers and by operation people. So it's basically a DevOps tool called as Cloud Operations, previously called as stackdriver. So if I were to give a small analogy, so far what we have done is basically learn how to build a house. So learn how to build a sophisticated architecture which is robust. So something of that sort. Now, once the house is built or an apartment is built, what next you are going to do? Basically, you're going to set up some kind of a monitoring system, right? A CCTV camera, a security agency is going to there. So who's going to monitor guard the house, monitor the house, all those things, right? Something very similar is what we are going to do now. So far we have learned how to use various components, connect multiple components and see how architecture can be built. Now, if you want to see how they are really working, monitoring, look into the logs, if there's any errors, all those things. So this suite of tools comes into picture called as cloud operations. As I mentioned, it was previously called as stackdriver. So the equivalent of that, very close equivalent of this in AWS is going to be called as CloudWatch. In Azure, it is called as Azure Application Insights. So let's get started with this part. So stackdriver. So it was an acquisition which Google did in 2014, if I'm not wrong, which was a cloud monitoring tool. Um, a point to remember here is in 2014, when Google acquired it, stackdriver was already supporting AWS. So it was a third-party product. So it was supporting whatever the cloud providers were there at that time. So it was able to support that. So they are supporting AWS monitoring there. So when Google acquired it, they kept this feature as is. So meaning, uh, if you were to monitor AWS stuffs and also GCP stuffs after acquisition, they would have added few more components for the GCP stuffs. So if if you just use stackdriver, now called as cloud operations, basically you can monitor two cloud providers. Who knows, you may get a very simple question even on this kind of a stuff. So you want to monitor AWS and GCP, what could be the best tool? Stackdriver, or now recently renamed, not recently actually, last March itself, in 2020 March itself they renamed it. So at least in the new updated exam, hope to see a name like cloud operations. So let me just add this thing in the cheat sheet so that it's going to helpful. It's going to be a help. uh, Stackdriver or cloud operations support GCP and GCP resources and few AWS resources like virtual machines, virtual machines. Uh, that's it. So this multi-cloud. So even if it's called multi only, right? So a question something like a cloud offering which a cloud monitoring tool which can support multiple and also a native solution means go with this option. So it supports AWS also. I'll show you that in the demonstration when we do it. So that's basically it, and it's basically a SaaS offering. So uh, you don't need to do any setup or anything. It's totally software as a service for monitoring, logging, doing diagnostics of your resources, and gain more useful insights. Understanding how you should configure the system. Should you is it overutilized? Is it underutilized? Is there any glitches? Is there any warnings, errors? All those things you can come to know. And this stackdriver is comprised of a suite of tools. Around six services are available here. Each has its own purpose, and as I mentioned in the beginning, this is going to be used by developers also and by operation team also. So I usually call stackdriver, now called as cloud operations, as a one-stop shop for all DevOps related activity. So why? There are certain tools like monitoring to monitor how the system is working, to get the logs, and also generate a comprehensive aggregated report called as stack driver error reporting or cloud operations error reporting. So this set of tools is heavily used by operation team. So day in day out, that's their job. So they do that using this suite of tools. Now you have few more tools called trace, profiler, debugger, which is more close towards developers. So we'll talk about what is trace, profiler, and debugger soon. And also the developers sometimes will also use some other tools like getting a complete reports, all those things. So basically, error reporting, trace, profiler, debugger, these are heavily used by developers. So that's the reason why I call this as a complete DevOps tool when it comes to GCP. And it's not that developers are not going to look into monitoring. That's not going to be their interest area, but they may look into logs whenever it is required. So, but they get an aggregated logs in error reporting. So basically 6 set of products. So what we are going to do is, as a cloud architect, because we are more towards inclined towards infrastructure, so we will do a very comprehensive demonstration on monitoring, uh, logging. We will see a comprehensive demo on these two things, and we will see at a very high level the developer related tools, error reporting, trace, profiler, debugger, when to use them effectively. So, and we'll also see some limitations of them so that you know when to use it. But I have seen questions appearing on monitoring and logging heavily. So let's get used to it, and that's going to be one of the important stuff as a architect. So we need to monitor the resources, right? So at least set up all the necessary stuffs and do it. So let's do a demonstration on basically stackdriver monitoring, now called as cloud monitoring. And we'll also see some features like alerting, some specific features, important features, which I see some kind of a relate to our case study, which we will discuss mostly from next Saturday or Sunday. So I'll let you know. Um, some concepts like alerting and workspace in cloud monitoring are heavily tested in the exam, is what I understand, because there's a case study itself. So if there's a case study, definitely if you get that case study, there's a chance that you may get that question. So let's see a demonstration on this part. Uh, Alerting is an important one, and workspace is becoming important these days because there are multiple projects. So let's look into that demonstration. For before that, I will make sure I go to my email and make every email ID, all the emails red. So I don't have any dismiss. I don't have any basically any unread emails currently. That's the status, and this is the email ID which we are going to use. So how do I go to my cloud monitoring? Simple. Click on your hamburger menu. Go to your operations, cloud operations. Under that you have this option monitoring. So click on monitoring. Now, without you doing anything, it's going to show some useful information about the various resources. We have not even done anything, and this is the first time we are even coming here, but it immediately shows some useful information about the various resources. And there's also a message here which we'll talk about this in few minutes. So let's not dismiss it. Let's keep it for some few more minutes. So this resource widget, if you see, this is very much similar to your in your home screen. So if I just go to the home screen, You see this, folks? Something very similar is what you see it here. There's some ish errors here. I'm not sure why it is showing two app engine versions. Let me just check it out whether there's two versions. Either one of them is wrong. Versions. There are two. There are two versions. So it is not. Oh, it is showing maybe one app engine resource. You have provision app engine. So how many versions? It shows it in the home widget. So somewhat very similar here, but this one is not very comprehensive, but your cloud monitoring is little comprehensive. It shows also you have one BigQuery data set, one PubSub. So if I just go here, I should be able to see it. There's going to be one PubSub topic created. That's what it indicates. It shows that. If you want to verify it, you can. You'll see there's a topic. So it can act as a good tool to monitor all the necessary stuff. So if there's tomorrow some Cloud SQL instance or something added, spanner added, you should be able to see those resources here. It's going to help you out. And we have almost 10 firewall rules is what it indicates. Let's just verify it. Uh, Looks like we have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Awesome. So it gives a very complete picture of what are the various resources which we have configured, disks, one disk, two snapshots, complete giving the complete details. So uh, if you want to releases some resources or something, this could be a really a good choice, really a good choice. Now what we are going to do now, it shows those things automatically. And if I go to some dashboards, there's going to be some built-in dashboards. This is where monitoring comes into picture. You should have good dashboards to show real-time stuffs. So there are some couple of dashboards which you see already built in specifically for compute engine and Kubernetes engine. So specifically for them, dedicated. So if I just click on that, I don't have any virtual machines currently. It's going to show empty, but good amount of dashboards are there built in. Top disk write, top received traffic, the time to leave, the round trip time, everything they are capturing. So without you doing anything, the dashboard comes up if you have some contents installed already, some virtual machines already running. So which is really a cool option, I would say. Good option. So now what we'll do is we will really monitor a resource, and we will use our very favorite product, compute engine, where we will install a compute engine. uh, the demo looks very much similar to what you see in any document, sorry, in the official documentation or in quick labs, but we'll try to do it in a slightly a different fashion. So the documentation and quick lab, sometimes they say you need to install something called as a monitoring agent. So I want to show you it in a slightly a different fashion where we don't install anything but just a vanilla operating system with some software running like Apache web server or something, and we'll see how we can monitor it. So just to show you that the stackdriver has some inbuilt capability to monitor certain things without doing anything extra. So that is what I wanted to show. Once you install something, definitely you can do some better monitoring. So that is another thing which we can do. So what we'll do now is we'll create a virtual machine. By creating a virtual machine itself, we learn lots of concepts. So today we are going to learn our monitoring concepts. So click on create. I'll call this as website, folks. I'll call this as website. N1 standard 1. I will allow HTTP traffic. And as usual, the first kind of demo which we did, we are again going to do it, but the context here is to learn monitoring. So I'll update my packages and also install Apache Web Server. Slightly, at least let's do at least slightly different. So what I'll do is, we used to see that Apache Web Server page, right? So why don't we do something slightly different? So we have been doing this for multiple times. Let's do slightly a different way where we will override the content and say uh, batch 6 GCP learners rocking with cloud monitoring. So this is the message which we are going to see if everything comes up. So this one, I want to write this message into a location which is /where/www/html/ index.html. So this is a page actually which is going to help us. This is a page which is going to serve basically the content. Now we are overriding it basically. Slightly a small advance or enhancement which we have done so far. So that's it, and it's going to be a bigger h1 tag. That's it. Let's go ahead and create this. Standard procedure, no rocket science. So we just see how a virtual machine gets created. Done. If things are all fine, it's still going on. Let me see whether it gets created. Okay. I guess you guys also should be able to see it. So the website is up and running. Now what I wanted to do is, I want to get a notification if something goes wrong with this website. Send me an email notification with the details also. Uh, if something has gone down with this website, what will you do? Basically, check whether the website VM is down or not. If VM is not down, check whether the Apache web server is not running or not. Check all these things is basically what you should do when an email notification comes. That also I can document it and send it as a part of the email. So how we are going to do this is what we are going to see now using cloud monitoring. Now currently does not show virtual machines uh, because there was no virtual machine. Now we have created it. Let me just do a refresh. I should see a virtual machine instances. Good. So I see this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a uh, uptime check whether this virtual machine is up or not. Basically a simple URL request to send to this IP address. If I get a response, I'll just mark this VM as up. Simple. So for that, I'm going to do this uptime check. Click on uptime check. Call this as batch 6 hyphen uptime. Click next. What's the protocol you want to use? And this is currently available for any public URL, folks. Any public URL. It does not need to be basically in GCP. It could be anywhere, even AWS stuffs also. It can be App Engine, a specific instance in GCP, or a elastic load balancer. This is basically the load balancer. Why elastic load balancer? Anybody wants to give a guess, folks? Because it is AWS. So I told you, right? So you can also monitor AWS stuff. So they have something on the load balancer. So in AWS, everything is going to be called as elastic. So indicate that it is in cloud. So you have got amount of resources. I'm going to use instance, a VM instance. It could be a single instance or a group. So maybe you can put groups of virtual machines and you want to monitor it, you can create it. So this group and that managed instance group is different, folks. Okay, so you can create a group yourself and do it. So if I just show you here, there is a concept called as monitoring group. So you add VMs to this group and then do it. So monitor lets you monitor groups of resources such as VM instances, database, all this. You create a group basically. If I go to my uptime check one more time, so I'll call this as batch 6 uptime check target. So I'm going to use HTTP because I don't have a certificate. So instance, one instance website shows up. Done. Now, how frequently I can check whether the website is up or not? Basically, the minimum is 1 minute. I cannot go beyond this. So every time I'm going to send a request every 1 minute and see whether it is up or not. Now there are a few other options which you can say. Assume your website is going to be only used in one specific continent, something like Asian continent. That's it. So you use only this. Why? Because you are least bothered if the website is not reachable in America. No problem. So because I don't have any user base, I'm least bothered. So I just want to do a health check only from this region, Asia specific. I'm happy means just do this part. So that way you will get only, you will be only checking. There's going to be some set of resources in stackdriver which is going to do this health check. So you are saying you don't need it. So why this is important, you may ask. I'm not very sure about the cost implication of it, but what I see is when you do the demonstration, you will see it by yourself. If I make it global, it's going to take a little more time to really mark the system is not reachable globally. Basically, that's what it's going to do. But if I mention it in a specific region, it's going to be, or it's not a region basically, groups of regions, uh, then it's going to be little quick. It's going to check in Asia, it's not reachable. So immediately send out a mail. You take an action, what you need to do. So for fastness purpose, it's going to be helpful. So if the customer base is only in America, just create a uptime check only in that region if nobody is going to access it from other parts of the world. So that's going to be a good one. So I'm just going to leave it as default just to show you how long it takes for the health check. And you can pass some headers, all those things for if your website requires an header for checking the health check. Custom headers are also possible. So port, we listen on port 80, so that is good enough. And sometimes not every website will have a health check without logging. Sometimes if you have a website only after you log in, the health check is going to work. You can give some username password. Custom headers are also possible. That's it. We have our target configured. Now the response. So the response which you're going to do. So how long you have to wait for the request to complete. So you have to wait for 10 seconds is what you are saying. So within 10 seconds, I should get a response from my website. Otherwise, I'll mark it as down. Mark it as down. And also I'm going to log this failure into stackdriver logging, or now it is called as cloud logging. So I'm going to log this also into my log information. So that's it. Now in 10 seconds you have to get it, folks. We'll also see how our system is going to respond back. Our system is going to respond in few milliseconds basically. Done. So now you have done the target. What should be the timeout, that has also been set. Last part is alert. If something really goes wrong like this, please alert me on a specific channel. This is very, very important. And I see this uh, as a part of the certification exam. That's sorry, the case study which has been added. So there are different channels. There are different channels which you can see if you click on manage notification channels. So these are the available channels, folks. You can send a pager duty, very old, but still people, if they use, they can use pager duty service, pager duty sync, which is in beta, Slack, which is in beta, webhook is a good choice. I have used that. Email, standard one, SMS, and PubSub. So there are good amount of channels available. So having an awareness of these channels is really good. The reason is there is a case study, GCP Cloud Architect. So I guess it is there's one case study. Which case study it is? Let me just. It's I guess helicopter racing league. We'll talk about this in the next week. So detailed. So email somewhere I saw or mail. Not this one. Uh, it should be either this or healthcare. Okay. This is the one, folks. It's a very interesting use case. EH Healthcare. So if you look into the mail, so there's one line. Users are managed via Active Directory. That's okay. Monitoring is currently being done via various open source tools. So very close to your stackdriver or cloud operations. One of the tool which you can use is Grafana. So what they say is the monitoring is done using open source tools. Alerts sent via email are often ignored. Now, this is a small line which you can use. It could be something which they are testing you to check how can you do it better. Now, how many of us respond quickly when an email is sent? If say for example, same content, if it is sent via email, will you respond faster? Or if the same email is or the same content is sent via WhatsApp, will you respond faster? I would say most of us would respond faster via WhatsApp compared to email. Uh, I guess everybody agrees to that. So basically, the channel to which it has been sent has a different impact, maybe to various reasons. Let's not get into it. Why it is so easy in WhatsApp or why it's so easy in social media to respond versus sending an email. So this is a problem. Now you as a cloud architect may want to increase this alert. Now if an email is sent and it is ignored, could be basically because the channel which they have chosen is email is not the right one in that specific organization. Could be that one, or it is sending regularly. If the system is down, yes, we know it is down. You should not simply bombard with emails every 1 minute. System is down, like that you don't want. So you want to be very smart. If the system is down, you send once, that's it. You know the system is down, so unless it comes back up, you will never send an email further. So which is an assumption that the system is still down. So that kind of an approach is really good. So I'm not sure every system is going to do that, but cloud operation is going to do that. So if the system is down, only send a mail once, that's it. So once it is resolved, it is up, then only will send a resolution. Basically, that is the kind of stuff which it does. Or this line could be basically indicating, maybe why don't you try a different channel? So maybe if you see in corporates these days, they use Slack heavily. Slack could be a good choice, but currently it is in beta. So, or webhooks is a good choice, or the very traditional one, SMS at least. So you can do it. And the ultimate one is PubSub, folks. With PubSub, you send all your information, then you create whatever you want. So you can create any kind of customization there. So PubSub could be a good choice, but these are in currently in beta. So I primarily used one of the workspace notification, which is webhook. Worked very well. So I can share a real example here, the use case where in one of the organization when I did the implementation, their the customer there was heavily using Jira. So, and for them everything was Jira, and they also wanted to have an integration with any system going down. They wanted to get a notification and make that as a bug request or some ticket in Jira. So at that time, what I did was I basically used this channel webhook. So I got the webhook from Jira, added it here. So whenever the system goes down, immediately it used to raise a new ticket in Jira with all the necessary details. So that was a cool option actually. So if they don't want to see it in stackdriver monitoring or cloud monitoring, you can use different channels. So basically, I'm just going to use this word and put it in the the cheat sheet, are often ignored. So means use other notification channels, cloud operations, like uh, I'll use SMS. SMS. What are the generally available one? First, we'll add the generally available one. SMS, email, uh, smart emails. I would say smartly send it, and not regularly sending too many emails. Too many emails. These are generally available, but there are some beta versions. Webhook, Slack. Let's use the GCP first stuff first. Cloud Observe, Cloud Observe, which is beta. Uh, Pager Duty. There are two versions of it. Sync and the service. I really don't know this thing of that, the difference. So sync and pager duty service. So could be a small line, but can be connected to our this thing. So these are the tools. If these two are not fulfilling your requirement, the next preferred one is this one, folks. I would prefer this. Webhook is also preferred. So if it's webhook, what can you do? Basically, is simple. Now we have WhatsApp for Business, so now you can use the webhook of WhatsApp and send a notification. Now, if nobody sees the email, definitely they will be seeing WhatsApp message. Just now also I saw a WhatsApp message when I was talking to you people. So people are most comfortable looking into the messages compared to the email notification. So that could be a good one. So we are not going to use anything in beta. What I will do as a simplest one is I'll use my email notification. So add a email. So I'm going to add an email address. So what is the email address which I'm going to add is basically this one. So I'm going to copy this, go add. So the display name, I will call this as Cloud Ops. That's the group or display name. So I can add n number of emails here. So done. So you want to add few, you can add more. So SMS also you can do it. So it's just you need to give a number. It's going to send you an SMS message. So, but I don't think so. There's going to be charges to that SMS. But they say as a standard policy that there's going to be SMS charges, but you will usually not use it. So use the country of which to which number you want to get, and you will get a verification code. Post that, you will get an SMS. That's it. So different options. Now I added it. Is there a back button? No, there's no back button. I'm just going to close this. I'll come back to my previously the user interface was totally different. Now I have added a notification channel. If I just refresh it, I should see the new channel, which is email. So just add that, click OK. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to say uptime check. So this is going to be my, if the uptime check has failed, I should basically send a notification. So I should send a notification is what it indicates. Basically, that's it. Now go ahead and test it. And this is how the user interface has been designed, folks. Previously, when you are sending this notification, right, you can also document, okay, if the system is giving you an error like this, first check whether it is a false alert or not. If it is really a alert, a valid one, check out whether your services are running. Some step-by-step guide you can give. So more like a documentation when a system is down. So this could be used by basically an operation person or a support person to check the stuffs. So that you can document it easily. But now they have not shown it in the user interface, but you can add the documentation later. I'll show you how to add it in next few minutes. So before you click on create, try the test part and see whether you get a notification, this thing, response. I get a response in around 421 milliseconds, around close to 500 milliseconds. But look at your timeout. So 10 seconds. So definitely our system is going to quickly capture the response is what it indicates. Now all good. So we have created our alert and notification uptime check configured. Click create. Once, okay, it's not refreshing. Let me just refresh the screen. Now I see my uptime check, and it currently shows no checks have been done. What do you mean by that? The check across all those 5 regions is not yet done. So what are those 5 regions? Basically, if you go to your uptime check, uh, Asia Pacific, America, South America, Europe, you had mentioned global region, right? So in none of the regions we have done the check. It has not done the check. So we have to just wait for a few more minutes. Once it has done that, it's going to basically show whether the check has run across all these places. So let me just wait for it one more time, refresh it. Still not there. So let's just wait for a minute or so. Still not there. Should not be anything with the firewall rule because we already have a firewall rule. So just give a couple of more minutes, it's going to be there. By the time this comes up, I talked about alerting, right? So using that wizard or that form, we were able to create a alerting policy. What was that alerting policy? Batch 6 uptime check, uptime failure. If something is failure, please send an email is what we had mentioned. So what we had mentioned, if the system is not available for 1 minute, even for a minute, you need to send me a mail is what I have mentioned here. So this is the threshold. Threshold is 1 minute. Now, if it is down, yes, what are the actions you need to take? So to do that, you can basically click on edit, add basically a step, notify on closure also. If you want, you can do that. So you can add the step. I really like this part, which is not basically emphasized much in most of the documentation. So include the instruction or suggestion for resolving the problem. So you can mention it completely what you want to do. So maybe this could be also a valid point. So have proper content when a new issue is raised. So what could be the thing? So welcome to something like this, and it's a markdown language. So if you are a little comfortable with HTML, you can type HTML contents also. Welcome to cloud monitoring. So it will show like this, but in your email, it's going to show nicely. So if you receive this email, please check the following in a sequence. Check whether the VM is up or not. If it is up, then check Apache web server is running or not. So like this, you keep on adding the stuffs. Still not, maybe first of all, yeah, then you keep on adding it. So documentation link, everything you can basically provide it. So lastly, a thank you note. Thanks from Cloud Ops team. That's it. So you can create this kind of a complete step by step guide to do it. So I did something very similar in that same organization where they wanted Jira, and they were really happy because till now they have never come back asking for what are the steps to be done. So it was so fully self-explanatory. Just follow the documentation, and it was more robustly written. Like check whether the VM is up and running. So basically, by clicking on, I had given the link also directly to go. Something like go to this page. If I click here, I'll have this complete link, right? So I copied this and I added that link also. So by clicking on this, so that they don't need to worry much about the stuffs itself. So it's going to easily go there. So I'll also put a line here, a break, so that it's going to come in the break, more of a HTML code, so that it can show it in the next line. That's it. So here also I'll put it. That's it, folks. So this could be really helpful to show a message like this. So let me put it very well uh, in the sequence. Done. Save it. So we have added some more additional information. If something goes wrong, you have to follow these steps and you should be all good, basically is what we are saying. Now let me go back to my uptime check and see whether the check has done. Yes, the check has been done. So from Asia specific, it takes around 2 milliseconds. From Europe, it takes around 400 milliseconds. North America, it has 3 places: North Virginia, Oregon, Iowa. So the times are shown. And from Brazil, it takes usually around 648 milliseconds. The system is all good. Everything is going fine. All good. Uh, Beautiful. So uptime check, all good. Now, what we will do is we will purposely make the system down, and we have not installed any monitoring tools or anything. It's just a vanilla Linux operating system, and with a software running. Basically, that's it. What we are going to do is we are purposely going to bring down the server. The moment we bring down the server, we will see what is going to happen. What is going to happen? So this is just to simulate it, basically to simulate what is going to happen. So I'll go to my virtual machine. So before I do that, I wanted to show you, refresh the screen. No emails so far, basically. Now this one, let me just do all this. So no emails so far in my email box. Now what I will do is I'll purposely go and shut down the system. So which will then fail. So I'm going to shut it down at around 6:45 6. So let me stop it, and we'll see how when we will get the email basically. So first the health check should fail, or the uptime check should fail. Once it fails, you will get a notification. Done. So around 47, roughly 6:47 India time, I have stopped it. So let's see what is going to happen to this. So your uptime check, if you go here, currently already North America detected it. So it is down. So like that, every regions it's going to send, it's going to get this thing, it's not reachable. Then I should receive a email basically. So let's just wait for the email here to indicate, to see when we are going to get the email. So once all the health check fails, now this is where I mentioned maybe a global check is not a good one if you don't have a website which is a global reach. So only for a specific this thing, maybe if it was only North America, right, we would have got the check quickly and we would have got a notification. We would have at least acted 1 or 2 minutes early basically. So let me just refresh it. All done. So if I refresh my email, I should receive it in next few seconds. It shows the health check failed completely. So waiting only for the email. It should have been received by this time. Let me refresh my browser itself. We should have received it. Let me see whether things are all good here. A ticket is also going to be raised. I don't see a ticket. A ticket should be raised, indicating it has failed. New thing, maybe. Let's just check it out, folks. So waiting for the ticket. So it should show an incident has occurred. So it is not even showing an incident has occurred. Mm, we had done everything properly. No incidents are raised. So if I just go to my alerting, there was a violation. So yeah, this is violation. Okay, incident is created. Okay, mail came now, folks. Good. So what time the mail came? It was around 6:49. So very realistic. 2 minutes it took me to get the email. Now look at this documentation, folks. Beautiful, right? So it says failure to uptime check happened. These are the things. The threshold was if it's down for even a minute, send me a notification. It is absurd, it is more than that. And I have a very nice notification. Welcome to this thing. If this thing is down, I have a link. I just click on it. It directly goes to my this thing. So if I click on this, it's going to go. Now treat myself as a support guy who gets this kind of a mail. The person just follows it, does not need to have a good exposure on GCP, just follows the documentation, goes and finds out the server is shut down. So if it is stopped down, if it's up or not, if it's down. So basically go and start it. If you just start it, the stuffs will come back to normal. Basically that's what we are going to do now. So let me go and start it. So I'm going to start it around 6:51, and let's see when it's going to do. Or maybe I will stop it for a few more minutes, folks. Let's just wait. I'll stop it again. The only reason is I wanted to show if there's no, if the server is down for a longer time also, I'll not get further notifications. So saying that every minute, we had mentioned every minute if it's down, send me a notification. If it's already down, it's not going to continuously keep on sending every minute. So that's a smart way of sending email. So if you bombard with email, everybody will put a rule. directly put the rule to trash or bin. That's what everybody does. So now let me keep it as down for a few more minutes so that we'll really see what is going to happen. The uptime check is going to still be failed. By the time we spend some time, we will explore some few things also here. So coming to dashboard. So if I click on the view dashboard, it says one active VM is there, and it also says there's no agent installed. So there is an agent which you can install called as monitoring agent. So if you install monitoring agent, more fine-grained informations can be monitored. Maybe some third-party tools which you wanted to monitor. You can do those things very easily if you install the agent. So how do I install the agent? Basically click on this. It's going to show you the complete details how you want to install it. So you log into the virtual machine and just run this command. That's it, and it's going to install it, and it's going to send us details to your monitoring tools. That's how it does it. Now it's almost like 6:52. I would have received only one email, so I have never bombarded the operation team with multiple emails, which is going to basically fulfill this requirement for healthcare use case. So smart way of doing it. So it comes built in with uh, the alerting feature. Now what I will do is we have to fix this. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to start it. So the VM is started, and please note, because we use an external IP address and it is ephemeral, the IP address would have changed. It was 120. Now it is also the same. Okay, it's the same. Fortunately, we got the same thing. So, but the health check is not based on the IP address, folks. We had given based on the name. So based on the name, so it was able to get it. So IP address should not be a problem. So now, if I go back to my overview page, go to my this thing. Now slowly the uptime, it's going to check. So I just refresh it. It is two checks failed, one is successful. So from US Oregon, it has received 200 OK response. So but in other places it's still the same, so it's still yet to come. Now by the time this comes, it's going to take some time. So 6:52 is what we started, or 6:53, so it's going to be still there. By the time this comes up, and we should get an email notification, one more email notification saying that it is all good, everything is up and running back to normal. So by the time that comes, let's explore the dashboard features. So the dashboard features which you get, so when I just click on dashboard, I get certain dashboards built in. For a virtual machine, what is the dashboard which you want to see? So you have infrastructure summary, the complete infrastructure in GCP, it's going to show you, which looks very much similar to your compute engine dashboard. So saying compute engine, it shows all the dashboards, folks. What was the traffic sent? For a short time, it went down. Every details is going to capture it. Every details. Now, if you want to create your own dashboard also, you can create it. You can create it where you just click on create dashboard. So these are all Google. Now you're going to create a new dashboard, which is going to be basically your own dashboard. So, and you can also mention what kind of charts you want, heat map, all those things. So you can add this easily. So if I just add a line graph, and I can mention the thing which I wanted to see. So I want to see the CPU utilization, or I want to see memory utilization, I can use it. So for example, if I just remove all this thing, go to my resources. So good amount of resources are going to be there. So EC2 show only active. I just remove this part. I show AWS. You see, folks, these are the stuffs which you can monitor from AWS. EC2 instance, which is nothing but virtual machine, load balancer, CDN, storage, your Hadoop cluster, Kinesis, good amount of stuffs are going to be captured. So this is good enough. So maybe in 2014 when Google acquired it, what were the stuffs which stackdriver was supporting? The same thing has been retained. Not everything is there, but what was there at that time, it is there. So, but if I search for Azure, you don't have it. So it's only between GCP and Azure is what you have. So sorry, GCP and AWS is what you have in stackdriver monitoring or cloud monitoring. Um, Azure is not there. Now, if you want to do specifically on compute engine, you can specifically select it and do it, and all other resources are there. This feature was a cool feature, folks. This is a cool feature. Just shows only the active stuffs, not all the resources. So if I just say the only resource which is active, which is currently there, just show me that. So compute engine. Now in compute engine, what you want? So I want to talk about memory. Uh, so memory usage, if you want, you can put it, or you want to use network or received bytes. So the sent byte and the egress. So or the ingress, is it possible for us to get? Yes, the ingress bytes. So it shows my graph. So it shows my graph. You can put it. And there is a basic version, advanced version, also something called as monitoring query language, where you can write a query. This is the query for your example which you have done. So you get that kind of a stuff. You added it. Now you want to add basically one more thing. Maybe this VM relies on some database or some big query. So you want to add that. You go ahead and add it. So let me just add the chart. Add one more. So this one is basically I'm going to do is not on GCP this thing, but on BigQuery. Is there any other resource I have? Storage. I'll just use BigQuery. And what monitoring stuffs I can see it in BigQuery. Slots, maybe slots. The slots assigned. I can see it. So it's not showing up because I don't have any slots. So like this, you can have a customized dashboard where it's not specific to one product. Like if you see the visualization which you have only specific visualizations to those products. Compute engine, only compute engine. But if you want a comprehensive dashboard from all the products which you use, you want one single dashboard, you can create your own. You can create your own and you can give a name to your dashboard also, like batch 6. You can give that. And another important trick which you can use is, if I go back to my dashboard, I see a custom dashboard. Another trick is you go to BigQuery, for example. Now if I look into BigQuery, because there's nothing, it is not showing anything. Let me take something else. Disks. Let me take disks, folks. Am I in the right one? I'll take firewall rules, infrastructure. I'll take infrastructure. Now, in the infrastructure dashboard, I am really impressed with one specific metrics. Disk top disk read. Now, what you can do is you can just click on these three dots, add to custom dashboard. It's going to say to which dashboard. I have only one dashboard, add it here. Now this is more like a copy. So now you pick and choose the best metrics show it in your custom dashboard. This is going to be a cool option, right? You don't need to look at what is the metrics which you want to do. So I do this very often and build a dashboard quickly. Now I have totally three dashboards. Three metrics. One is my ingress. The second is the BigQuery slots, which is currently not showing up. And the last one is a top disk read, which we actually copied from an existing stuff. Now you put it on full screen mode as an operation team, put it on a big TV. Usually in the monitoring this thing, they will have this kind of an system, and make sure you auto refresh it. That's it. It's going to keep on refreshing it. You monitor it. That's it. So this is going to make the job of an operation guy very easy. That's it. So that's something on your dashboard which I wanted to talk. Now if I go back to my health, the uptime check, it is all good, and I have also received my email. So the first time which came was at 6:49. Then once the system was up, 6:52 or something, we made it up. So totally it took around 6:55 to get it, and it shows auto recovered, folks, meaning you did not basically go and say you fixed it. So there was a glitch in the system. You just manually went and started it. That's it. Just by doing it, remaining everything got recovered automatically. This is one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is basically you shut down the system. You shut down the system. So we'll definitely get one more email. So once you shut it down, what you do basically is you will get a ticket. It's going to also have a ticketing system built in. May not be so sophisticated like the ticketing systems which you get it in ServiceNow, all those things. The basic version of it, you can acknowledge it, work on it, resolve it manually. That is also possible. So if I go back to my system, the uptime check should fail now because we have shut it down. So soon everything is going to become not available. So it's already going down. Then I'll get a notification. I'll show you how the notification looks here itself. So a new incident is going to be raised. So if I click on incident, I can see the past incidents, what happened. Can I show all the incidents? There was an option, show closed incidents. So the incident which occurred opened at 6:50, 12 seconds. Then it was closed at 6:55 time. So it shows me these details. So something very similar you can also see soon, because the system is already down. So you will see a new incident raised, yet to come up, yet to show there. So you will see that incident. So this is the same widget you will see. So you will see this second incident. If you see such kind of a stuff, as an operation guy, you find really that there's an issue, then you start acknowledging it, start working on it, and then close it. That's going to be manual. That's going to be a manual way of doing it. So I'll show you how do I do it in a manual style also. First, I need to get a notification. Not yet there. Okay. By the time it comes, we'll not waste time. We'll explore this part. So what is this basically? Now you're monitoring for what? Basically your own project, you are monitoring it. But in real implementations, right? You may have, at least even in production itself, you may have two or three systems, or you may have a centralized operation team or a centralized DevOps team. So all the logs, monitoring, all those things, they are going to take care. So for them, what you can do is basically one, like how we created shared VPC, where all the networking people will take care of the shared VPC. You just need to focus on your non-networking component. Similarly, when it comes to monitoring all those things, you can create a project, a dedicated GCP project called as host monitoring project, and that project, in that project you keep on adding new monitored project. So if you add those monitored projects, you can easily monitor all the projects in one single place. So that's where this workspace comes into picture. You have a new feature in workspace where multiple projects can be monitored. So if I just click on this link, add this to my bookmark. So how you can monitor for a single project, that's what we are doing. Multiple projects within a single organization, that is also possible. Multiple projects across multiple organizations, so multiple Google Cloud project and AWS accounts. So we have seen it can do monitoring for AWS. So if you were to get the details of AWS, you have to add the AWS account. So basically you can do multiple workspaces easily with cloud monitoring. So how do I add a project? Let me just show you that. So if I go to my settings, so cloud monitor metrics across multiple projects, meaning currently I am in a project called as batch 6. Now this is going to be my hosted project, or host project, not hosted project, host workspace. So I can add a new GCP project. So I'm creating workspace here. So I add this project, add it. So all this LGM projects content, I can see it in this project itself. So this is how I can create workspaces basically. So just add it. What happened? So add a project, add projects. Okay. Use this project as the scoping project. Okay. So what basically it says is there are two features. This feature was not there. So create a new scoping project. If you select this, then you are prompted to create a GCP project, Google Cloud project. This project you create will become the scoping project for the new multi-project, multi-other thing. So meaning when I click on this, so I'm going to basically create a DevOps monitoring project, a new project where both my batch 6 and LGWM project is going to be part of it. So now this is going to be my hosted host workspace. So under this, I only do monitoring. I don't create any other resources. I only do monitoring. So this is how you can do it. Or if you don't want this, basically you add project but use this project, meaning batch 6 has your host project. You can do that. So to the existing project itself, are you sure? So a project can host many projects and it can appear in many projects, but it can be used as a scoping project. Now they, instead of calling it as host workspace, they're calling it as a scoping project. If you want, you can do it. So this concept of workspace could be important. I have seen this in one of the case study. I don't recollect it. So should be basically uh, I guess EH healthcare only. So when we demystify it, we will be definitely able to connect it back. So there's a concept called as workspace. This is going to be heavily used by DevOps team. So those were something which I wanted to show basically about the cloud monitoring stuff. I see, is there a mail which I have received? Yes, I have received a mail saying that the system is down again. Now, instead of doing it in a more auto recover mode, what I will do is I am a new support guy. I'll just click on it. I'll get the details. Yes, the system has gone down and has then come up. So what I will do is I will basically say, yes, this has really occurred. This has really occurred. So what I'm going to do is click go back here, like how a typical support person works. So there should be an option to acknowledge it. Where is that? This one, incident. They have changed it. I can acknowledge it. 1 minute. There's an option to acknowledge it, saying that yes, this has occurred. Start working on it. I'm not sure why it's not showing up. Open. Okay, let me see it. Yeah. So I click on it. So they have changed the interface to a great extent. So this is the incident which has occurred. So what I will do is I'll go and acknowledge it. Yes, this has been really, this is a real error. So acknowledge it. Now it moves to the next state. From open state, it goes to acknowledge. So I'll get an email on that also, if I'm not wrong, usually saying that it has been acknowledged. So then basically what you do is once you finish all the stuffs, you can close this ticket. How do I do it? They have changed it. Silent the incident, or there are options to close it. So currently it is acknowledged. No, the support team knows something of this sort has occurred. So then I guess I have to click on this link. They have this link. On the incident name, I have to click it. So silent it. I don't know. There should be a close button. It was there. So silented it. Oh, silent is closed. Okay. Now the ticket is closed. What you will see is if the ticket is closed, you will see it sending a mail. Okay. It always shows auto recovered. Okay. Strange. So it shows the ticket has been closed. Ticket is closed. But literally it is not fixed because somebody just manually did it, but they have not even made the website up. So made the website up. So you have to make it up, then only it is going to be closed literally. If you don't do it, in next few minutes, I will get one more email saying that no, it is not still reachable because they just close the ticket simply in the system, but it is literally not fixed. So that's what is going to happen. So let's just wait and come back after 10 minutes. You'll see one more notification there. So once we come back from the break, we'll look into the next piece, which is going to be logging. So I'm just going to leave it as is to see the alert because the system is still down. And I'll also show you how you delete these uptime checks later. Because if you do this and if you just delete it, delete the VM directly without deleting the uptime check, every day you will get one email. So which I don't want you to get. So I'll show you how do you do the cleanup process also once we come back from our break. So let me stop recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
So before the break, the support person, what the person did was simply close the ticket, even without doing any action, taking any action on it, just acknowledge it and closed it. If something like that has been done, what's going to happen is you will get another email. So you'll get an email because it was not literally fixed. Only for the sake of closing it, they were closing the system. So the system is going to still send you a message like this. So then what is going to happen is you have to literally do this and then only you should do it. So I work really true work, fix it, then it's going to auto acknowledge and things are all going to close really the way it has to work. So this is the way you should do basically. An operation person should do close the ticket, work on it and close it. If they directly do it, it's going to get easily notified that the system is not still fixed basically. So now when you do this demo at your side, please don't directly delete the VM and move ahead. Instead of that, come back to your uptime check part. Make sure you delete this uptime check and also the alerting stuff. Then delete your VM. What happens if the VM is deleted directly, but your uptime check is not deleted? Every day, one email is going to be there. So the cycle is going to be once. So if the system is down for 3 days, you will get 3 emails basically, not 72 emails per hour. It's not going to send basically. So then go ahead and delete your VM. So that's how you should do basically. So I'm going to keep that VM for some other purpose for some of the following demos. So that's basically your stackdriver monitoring concept focus on the alerting part and on the workspace part, because the workspace part recently came in. So I just thought of sharing that information with you. And please note, this I'm not sure, they may have updated this stuff. But if you see here, there is no product called as email or anything. So it is alerting. It's an alerting thing, and it is basically cloud monitoring. Sometimes Google may test you on the actual name also. At least in the older version of the exam, they used to check whether such a product exists or not. So you don't have a product called as Google cloud emailing, nothing like that, or email. So what you have is alerting, so which is part of your cloud monitoring solution. So remember that, because I see something like, I had seen it something of this sort of a question. So but there's no product like email in GCP. So now what we'll do is we'll look into our next component, monitoring over logging. How logging works is what we are going to see. And there are different types of logs also available. We'll also talk about that, and we'll also do a demonstration on it. The first and the foremost kind of logs when it comes is going to be called as administrative logs. So, or admin activity log. So what does this admin activity log basically does? So any resource creation, deletion, modifications if you do, this is going to be automatically captured by Google Cloud, and it is going to be retained. Whenever you talk about log, retention of the log is always important. So by default, this log is going to be retained for 13 months, 400 days roughly. So 13 months roughly, 400 days is the exact number. You don't need to do anything extra, and this is turned on by default, and it is totally free of charge. Really a cool one. So what does this really mean is, if I go to my stackdriver logging or cloud logging, the VM which I created is going to be there. That information is going to be there. If I delete that VM, that information is going to be again captured. But inside the VM, if I do something, I will not be able to get that details. So by default, so if you want to get such kind of a details, you have to install, or you have to turn on something called as data access log. So data access log. So admin activity, any creation, deletion, modification, that is the one. System event logs is basically generated by your Google system. Say for example, if there's a virtual machine, and if this virtual machine gets preempted, or it goes for a live migration, then those informations are going to be captured in your system event logs, which is again free of cost, turned on by default, retained for 400 days. So there are two log information, or two types of audit logs, which is going to be turned on by default and for 400 days. So believe it or not, only on this two rows there was a question which I got it in my recertification. So basically something of the same kind of stuff. So a question like VM deletion needs to be captured. So we need to find the VM deletion. Who did it? Is there any action required or not? How do I find the VM is deleted, by whom, all those things? So do I need to turn on any specific logs or not? The answer is no. You don't need to do anything. Do nothing, because the admin activity log is going to be turned on by default for you, basically. So let me just add that. what logs, I'll put it in my own words, which logging, which logging or which logging option. So okay, or I sorry, this want to capture uh, compute engine creation and deletion in the logs. What needs to be done. So if you have answers like enable logging, do nothing, cannot be possible, then the answer is this one. Simple. Because admin activity log captures it automatically for every project, folks, and which is free, automatically, and retained for 400 days, and it is free of cost. So such things, on the concept, you may get it basically. So, and there's also one more, two more logs, which is not free, which is not turned on, which you can turn it on if you want. And there's one more log, which is again not free, which is turned on by default. So if you want, you can turn it off. So what are those things? Data access log. For example, if there's a virtual machine or a storage bucket, uh, inside the bucket, inside the virtual machine, what they are doing, if you want to capture that kind of an information. So bucket creation, bucket deletion is going to be automatically captured because that's admin activity log. But inside the bucket, if somebody is trying to access an object, view an object, if you want to capture that kind of information, you have to turn on something called as data access log, and only for one service this is going to be turned on by default, which is BigQuery. For remaining every other product, it is not going to be turned on. You have to turn it on yourself basically. And the last one is policy denied. So when you try to access certain stuffs, if the access is denied, it's going to show you that, right? Even that can be captured in the system, which is turned on by default. And important thing is these types of logs are only retained for 30 days. So if you were to retain it for a long day, a long time, maybe at least 1 year, what would be your solution, folks? The logs are there. It is only for 30 days. I want to retain it for at least 1 year because my auditing happens every 1 year. What could be the best product which you can use in GCP? Anybody? Good, Mangesh? Anybody else? So I want to retain my log information for my auditor, and my auditor does not know SQL. He knows only to read the data. He may not be a SQL expert. So a good Vivek. So basically, I will have a couple of options to keep this log information, folks. One, if it's for audit purpose, and you definitely don't expect an auditor, an external auditor, to know how to store this, how to query it in BigQuery. So you just store it in a Google Cloud storage. But if you want to do this audit and the auditing team has some analytics team who can do querying and all, then basically what you do is dump this log into BigQuery. So there are good options. Two options is what you get basically to dump your stuffs into your uh, Google Cloud storage or into your BigQuery. And there are few other things available. PubSub, third-party stuffs are also available. We'll look into it. So if the concern is more towards retention, you have options. Google Cloud Storage could be the best option. BigQuery for people who want to do analytics on the logs. Now what we'll do is we'll use the same existing virtual machine. I'll show you how logging works with that virtual machine. I'll show you the admin activity log, all those things. Then I will show you more log information. Log information to what extent? Basically, what is the hypervisor I am running on? I can get that much of information if I install a logging agent. So I'll show you that part. So we already have a virtual machine which is created. So it was created at around 6:15 or so, if I'm not wrong, India time today. uh, if I want to see that, maybe somebody says this something like this: you have somebody created a virtual machine, which is open, which has a port opened to the entire world. Port 80 is open to the entire world. Can you find out that VM and quickly stop it? So what they are literally saying is, this VM this VM this VM has a port open to the entire world. So, and in our case, it's only one VM. It is easy for you to find it out. But if you are working in a system where lots of virtual machines are there, it's so difficult for you to find it out. You basically look into the logs and get it. And there are two ways of looking into it, basically. So two styles I'll show you. So the use case is, somebody created a virtual machine which is open to the entire world, where the it is open to the entire world, and they also say this virtual machine was recently created. The word recently is going to help us to identify what was the timeline. So when you are searching for in the log, you put a timeline. So that's going to help you out. You can say latest 1 hour, 2 hour, or 3 hour. So that way I can find it out. So let me just go and see how I can find it out. So to do that, I can do it in two different styles. Both are valid styles. So first I'll go into this option, cloud logging explorer. So if I do this, and you click on jump now, you can change the time, folks, the zone in which you wanted to have it. So if I do it in India, this is a cool feature, I would say. Or IST. Yeah, it shows the logs in that time, basically. Now when I click on jump now, it's going to go to the current time and show what was happened last time. So shows lots of information, and we have already explored cloud logging in n number of use cases. Cloud functions, when you were seeing it, when you were seeing your data flow, the logs were showing. So those were all already built in. Now if I do the same thing, what is that? Somebody mentioned somebody has created a virtual machine. I wanted to know the virtual machines which was recently created, is it having a port open to the entire world? So for that, what I will do is, I can manually go look into the logs, put a time. So you can put last 1 hour, last 3 hours, something of that sort. You can get all the logs, and you will see lots of this information. Now this could be really difficult because it shows all the log information. Now if I go, it shows also monitoring logs. Monitoring logs also are going to be captured. So basically this becomes difficult for me to put check. Now you see uptime check which was happening, even that information is logged. Good amount of information is there, so it's going to be little difficult. So what I do, basically I use the resources. So I use the resource option and basically put a filter. I'm only interested in virtual machines, please don't show me anything else. So virtual machines, I don't know the virtual machine name, so I'm going to put a filter on all IDs, all instance. That's it. When I click on add, it's going to put a filter. Just only show resource type equal to GCE hyphen underscore instance. Now, when you do this kind of a stuff, you can run this query, folks. When I do this, it's going to only show me logs related to virtual machine. Related to virtual machine. Now, you don't see any. Is it really working? 1 minute. Is this also related to virtual machine? Let me see. Resource type. Okay, this is virtual machine related only. This is virtual machine related only. Maybe why don't I create quickly a bucket, folks? A storage bucket. just to show you that what we are seeing is correct. So create a bucket, cloud logging batch 6 demo. I'm just going to leave everything as default. Now this is going to be captured in the logs. This is going to be captured in the logs. Now if I go back, I remove this query and I click on jump now, jump to now. So it should show me a bucket was created, or let me stream the logs, folks. Refresh the screen better. Simply empty query. So if I do it at around 740, now it's 743, 742, there was a request where you created a bucket basically. So if I just expand this, it's going to show basically a bucket was created. Method is storage.buckets.create. It got created. So this kind of creation is going to be captured automatically using admin activity log. So now I'm not interested in buckets. I'm only interested in VM creations. That too only VM creation, not any other logs of VM. So how do? I basically go with edit a query, put the restriction. First show me only VMs. So I don't want VMs plus all. Basically, I just only want to see VMs. So and run the query. You are slightly putting a filter. Now the lots of activity which happens in the virtual machine, but I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is I will look for some VM creation stuff. So at 6, basically, if I scroll up more, I want it last 4 hours. So 6 o'clock or 6:10, we created the virtual machine. So if I'm just scrolling, so these logs are your startup script, folks. We installed our Apache web server. So those logs are also captured here. Now, this is the one which I'm interested in. Compute engine. So if I just expand this, basically, compute engine instances or compute.instance.insert. Insert is nothing but basically the VM creation. Now, if you want to know, get me all the VMs which was created in the last 4 hours, you can just right click or just click on this, click on show matching entries. The moment I do this, basically it's going to show me those information. So if I click on edit, you see you're creating a query by looking into the log information. So let me just do it one more time. Basically, you look what information you want and put a filter there, folks. So you expand it. You say, I want all, basically. So not this one. So 6 o'clock, 6:15 or something, we had a VM insert. So just click show matching entries. Only if it's matching this, show me that details. So it shows basically 2 entries. So it's the same VM which was created. So it's showing 2 entries. Now this way I will come to know the VMs which was created in the last 1 hour or 2 hours. I get the details. Now what you do is go explore that VM completely. Explore that VM completely and see what was the network it belongs to. Now, once you know the network or you know the VM itself, from the VM you will come to know, okay, this is the VM. How do I know it from the logs? So if you look into the logs, you will come to know the VM name, website. This is the name of the VM. So you go to that VM, click on the network details. and you will click on ingress analysis. You will understand it is open. The port 80 is open to the world. So just go and block this basically. So that's how you can do it with your logging stuff. Logging stuffs. So now if you wanted to see, get me all the details uh, of VM creation by a specific person or a specific group. How do I do it? So basically what I do is expand one of the VM creations or VM creations and look for information. This is all in JSON format. So look for an information called as principal email ID. So I would say if the principal email ID is this, get me the details of all the VMs created by so and so person. So again, click show matching entries. So it's going to show me all the VMs which was created by Mahesh is what it shows. Now I want to see basically show me all the details which is related to VMs and something done by Mahesh. It could be VM creation, VM deletion, anything. VM updates. It shows Mahesh stopped. He stopped at multiple times. Then he started it. All things. It's going to capture me that. Now if you want to only see stopped one, just click match. Only show me the stuffs which Mahesh stopped. Over what? How long? Over, if you want to edit the time, over the last 7 days, get me the details completely what this person did. More of an audit. So I wanted to see whether something has gone wrong, whether he deleted it or whether he stopped it. So I'll get to know that. So I have stopped most of the time today only. I have not done anything else in the past. But if you wanted to see something like start, I may have many. How many VMs have started? I may have many because I would have created multiple VMs throughout that. So is it start? Why it's not showing? Okay, this time I will put it as 7 days. So I should see more log information here. Not there. Okay, in this project I would not have created it. In the other project I would have created. So last time, yeah, that's the only thing which we have. So, or maybe I'll do it 14 days, folks, or 28 days. Definitely we would have created VMs. So we will see those more information. And I told this log is going to be captured for basically what? 400 days. So definitely it's going to scan and get more details about it. So let's wait for this. Now this is something which is going to be captured automatically. Now if I want fine grain information inside the virtual machine, what are the services running, what is the hypervisor use, that kind of an information, then it's going to be better to get some agent installed. Now you see it, folks, more information is coming. So how many times I have started a virtual machine? So today, last 17th, if I'm not wrong, should have been a Sunday. So yeah, so Sunday I have done on 10th of April. So we have done it multiple times. So because we are doing big data class, so we have not created virtual machines between 14th of 10th of April to 17th of April. So we have not done much. So that shows basically how you are doing it. You get a complete stuff. And another advantage of this is if you want to share this information with your auditors or anything, or maybe a small download of log, you can just do this part. Action, download the logs. It's going to download the log in two different formats, JSON or CSV. You can also save it into a Google Drive. So this option of downloading is a cool option, which you get it. So this is one way of doing it. But what's the drawback of this option? It is very raw. It's very raw. Only a person who knows how to read the JSON file format, they can do it. So it's very raw. Is there an alternative for it? Yes. Something based on this stackdriver logging or cloud logging itself, Google has also created one more user interface, which is basically your home screen. In your home screen, you have a tab called as activity. So this is also going to capture the same thing, and it is built on top of cloud logging only, but it shows very nicely. It shows very nicely the content. You don't need to have a JSON exposure. So just click on the stuffs activity. You will see in a very nice format. So you can also put filters on a specific stuff. So I want to see only configurations, creation, deletions, all those things. And I'm only interested in virtual machines. You put that filter and you put the date as latest. Then it's going to only show the details. So today at 6:15 you created it. Then you stopped at 6:46. It gives you the complete details. But this is only a quick one. You can get a quick details in a nice format. But if you say, can you please export this into a log? I cannot do it. There's no option of export. This is for quick stuff. So you can get it easily. So this is another option which you can use to get it. I would ask you to try this demonstration yourself. Have a user with the very least privilege and see whether both the logs can be seen or not. So once you do it, you'll figure it out. To see your activity page, you have to have minimum a viewer role. Viewer role. If you were to see the logs here in your stackdriver logging or your cloud logging, the role which you have to have is something called as cloud viewer. So even though the logs are generated or captured from this user interface is built on top of stackdriver logging only, to view it you need to have something more. Only viewers can see this kind of stuff, viewers, editor, or owner. So if you are in some other role you may not see this itself. But if you can give me a predefined role like cloud viewer, I can still come and view my logs basically. So that's the difference there. By default, your activity page is going to always have a filter on configuration, basically creation, deletion, those kind of stuff. So you also see the bucket was created. So if I put it on storage bucket, storage bucket, I will see the bucket details, what was created. So today I created the bucket. Created by whom? By this user. By this user, and the name of the bucket is this one. So it shows you that complete details. So now let me install an agent in my virtual machine, and you will see the information which you're going to get. Now if you want to search for some text in the logs, you can just type something directly like this. So kvm, if I search like this, what's going to happen is it's going to give me a result where anywhere in the log kvm is mentioned. So it shows basically uh, when 16th of May it has detected hypervisor as kvm. So 16th of May, maybe we would have done something at the maybe what was the thing which we would have done, some kubernetes or something. So it would have detected that information. So when you use kubernetes, these agents are installed by default. Only in your virtual machine the logging agent has to be installed by you. So it gives me such details. Now if you want to find something, just put the free text, you will be able to query it. But today log, nothing shows. The last log was on 16th of May related to kvm, because it was something on kubernetes which we did. So CI/CD using kubernetes which we did. So when you use a kubernetes cluster, the logging agent and the monitoring agent are going to be installed by default. So where do I see that? If I go to my kubernetes, create a cluster, standard one, so under features, you see this folks, enable cloud logging for GKE. So what is going to happen is this is going to install the agents for you, and because of which it comes up. And on 16th we did CI CD, if I'm not wrong. So that's the reason it captures that. Now how I will install a agent into a logging agent into my virtual machine, I'll show you that. And I'll also show you if you have an application which wants to log some information to the stackdriver logging or cloud logging, how do I do it? I'll show you that. And why I choose virtual machine is, in this it is not installed, folks. You have to install it manually. But if you use cloud logging, app engine, cloud run, all those things will automatically log the information into your stack driver. We have seen it, right? In cloud functions, if you just do print in your function, cloud functions code, it's going to print it, or console.log, it's going to do it. But when I do something in my application, in my virtual machine, using a utility called as logger, hello batch 6 users, it will not log this information in my logging. Basically it's sorry folks, there was a small glitch. So what I'm going to do basically is, if I look into my logs, I can stream this logs. The filter is on virtual machine, but the last log information which I see is basically at 7:57, which is more about the keys, because I logged in, but the log information which I have sent has never reached. Now to make this available and for me to get more details about my virtual machine, I have to install an agent called as stackdriver logging agent. So let me just copy this command, and you get the logging agent for Windows and for Linux also. Now just look at this one, what is going to happen. So I'm going to make it like this, and I'm streaming the logs, folks. So I should be able to see with the lowest latency. What I will do now is I'll just install my logging agent, and this logging agent is going to be based on something called as FluentD. This is one of the open source logging tools which you get. Google has used that, extended it, and they have further configured for stackdriver logging or cloud logging. So the moment it gets completely installed, you will see huge amount of information generated, folks, in your logs. Right from what is the operating system, what is the hypervisor it is using, all those information. It's going to be easily captured. So it's just installing it. Watch the behind the screen part. You will see after 7:57 nothing was there. The moment, and the logs are streamed currently, the moment the installation is completed, yeah, it is completed. So soon you should see good amount of logs getting captured. So it should be anything after 8 o'clock. Now you see, folks, it is starting the logs. It should start more. You see this Fluent service started. Now it's going to generate a good amount of information about the system, including details like hypervisor which has been installed. So let's just wait for a few more minutes. uh, Stop and query it one more time. So let me stream it one more time. There's going to be a little lag. There's going to be a little lag. And let me just do hello world with cloud logging. Done. Now when I do this, I should be able to see that output here. Let me see. It's not generating good amount of information yet. Let me just stream it one more time. There's going to be a little lag, huh? So you see it, folks, the message which you sent. So it is captured. So even if your application needs to get this information, you can basically use this logger utility and send it. Basically, there's a small lag in this thing. Okay, it is logging twice. I don't know what happened. So it is logging twice. Maybe there's some changes, some issue in the system. Now, if I search for basically KVM and just query it, today's data, it's going to show. So the data of today, indicating it is all today's data. It shows the hypervisor used is basically KVM. So if somebody asks you, how can I find out these details? One way, there could be multiple ways of finding out the hypervisor. Uh, with respect to logging, stackdriver logging, you can also find it out. So the website, the name of the resource is website, and this is running on hypervisor, KVM as the hypervisor, virtual kernel virtual machine, basically. So this is something you can get more information if you install the agent. This is on a virtual machine. Good. Now let me do something like this. The next part of the demo, we'll take buckets. So I don't need this virtual machine anymore. Delete it. Let me go to my buckets. We know the bucket creation got captured because it's an admin activity log. It is captured. Now if I go to my buckets, go to my buckets, I upload a file, folks. I'll just upload a file. So is there any file which I have? So I'll just upload this, some folder, some PDF file, profile.pdf down. Now maybe I will just delete this. Delete it also. Delete it. Now let me create a file, a text file. This is a confidential content. Uh, things, sorry, things will be monitored. Now save this to my desktop. Uh, Logging a secret, very confidential. So this is the file. So I'll upload this file. Now even anybody viewing this should be captured. So if I just open this, I have viewed the content also. Now these all stuffs which you did in the last 2 minutes, nothing is going to be captured by Google. Why? Because this is something more specific to a product, and that to more of data access, what you are accessing, all those things. So as per the slide, if you see, this comes under this category, data access. So this is not at all going to be captured. Now if you want to capture it, you have to turn it on. By default, it's not going to be turned on because logging can be really expensive, folks, sometimes. So if you turn on too much, there are many places which Google very specifically mentions, your VPC flow logs, your firewall logs. They very specifically mention if you turn this on, you may incur huge cost. You may incur cost. So not every logs are going to be turned on by default, except admin activity log and system event log, followed by your policy deny logs. So if you want to do this, you have to turn on data access log. But before turning it on, I wanted to show you what is going to be captured. Many people think the log is already captured, but if you just enable it, it is going to show. No, the moment you turn on your data access log, only then it is going to show off that information. So before whatever happened, nothing is going to be captured. Right from the minute you start enabling the logging, from that time only the logs are going to be captured. So let me just show you that part. Go to my logs. This time I am not interested in this one, so I can type resource type. So storage, if uh, buckets, GCS buckets. So this is another way of querying it. If you know, you just type it. So, or use that show matching stuffs. So now it shows me the stuffs I wanted basically. So when was the last thing it has done? Log today at 7:42, where the VM was created. Sorry, the bucket was created. It has no other information except this. Same is the case with your activity page. So it's never going to show. Now let me turn on data access log here, put a filter. You will not see that because you have not turned on your logging for your buckets. It does not show that. You can do a refresh. You can wait for a long time. It is not going to capture because that log itself is not enabled. You have to go and explicitly enable it. Then only it's going to capture. So all resources, not all resource. I want only buckets. The buckets. It's going to show nothing. So I'm just showing you there. Now, how do I do this then? Basically, you need to go to your logs, sorry, IM and admin audit logs. So IM and admin audit logs. When you click on this, you will see for how many services you can turn on this kind of audit logging. So data access part. So around 87 services you can easily do this. So the one which we are looking is basically if you search for BigQuery, you'll not have it because this is turned on by default for BigQuery. That is the reason it is not shown. So if I search for storage, I get it. I turn on this logs. So in audit log, sorry, in data access log itself, you have few more options. What are those things? Admin read, data write, all those kinds of stuff. These are all data access related logs only. So I'm going to turn on everything and click on save. Before I click on save, there's a small tab here, exempted users. A question for you people folks. So exemption lets which users audit log lets which users generate exempted exemption lets you control which user generate audit logs. When you add an exempted user, the audit logs are not created for that user for the selected log type. Note the admin activity is always generated regardless of the exemption. So now if I add an exemption exempted user, whatever this person does, this information will not be logged except the admin activity, meaning creation deletion. But inside the bucket, if I do something, my activity is not going to be captured. So what could be a possible user which I can add here, folks? Who should be the user? Who should be the identity which I can add here? What kind of identity I can add here, folks? Whose information should never be logged? Super admin, something like that, or something better? Which user should be or which identity is a best fit here to exempt from logging? Why do you want to exempt? N number of reasons. You need to think and tell me. So any user or any identity which can be used here, folks, whose information should never be logged. When do you want an information to be logged? If somebody is doing wrong things, right? Only then you want that to be logged. Who is going to do that log thing? Humans. Humans are the one who is going to do this wrong things. So you should never put a human email ID here or a group, but what you can put is basically a service account, folks. Add a service account. Machines will never do mistakes or will not think of doing something wrong or bad things. So add a service account. Now if you have a virtual machine which is going to write write data into a bucket using a service account, why do you want to add that log information? If you add that log information, your log data is going to be huge. You will incur a huge cost, and machines will not make mistakes. So we don't want to even track that information. So what we want to add as an exemption here is basically any service account which you don't want to capture it, log those details. So just add that information. That's a better fit. So maybe via Terraform. Last week we did it. Every time Terraform does it, basically the state is going to be updated. So I don't want this information to be captured, that this service account did basically I exempt all these things. Admin activity right is going to be captured. So I exempt this user, basically an identity. So this way I would say basically it's going to avoid that service account writing any information. Only if a human comes and writes it, it's going to be captured. So save it. So hope this is clear, folks, about the exemption. So who needs to be exempted? It should be a service account. Could be a possible question. So hence I thought of sharing it. Now I have turned on my admin activity, sorry, data access log for only storage bucket, not for any other service. So not for any other service, only for my storage service I have done it. Now what we will do is we'll see whether the logs are going to be captured or not. So just refresh this, because I just turned on the log, data access log. Is it going to reflect? No, it is not going to reflect, but I'll just show you whether it's going to show or not. So if I go to my bucket, so if you go here, you will still not see that information, because only from the time you created it going forward your logs are going to be captured. So meaning if I just go now, just do a refresh, folks, this is also even logged. You saw the buckets, you did a bucket listing, this is going to be logged. Now you went inside a bucket, this is also going to be logged. You deleted or you viewed this file, this is also going to be captured. So all this information is now captured because it's a data access log. Now let me just refresh this. And I'll put a filter only on buckets. You'll already see the logs popping up. See, folks, the time was around 8:14. So good amount of logs. You listed the buckets. Then you got the bucket details. Then you also saw the object. You did the object listing. You also, it should also show the object was viewed. Let me just refresh it. It should also show I viewed that object. Get bucket details. So this is the level. It's not showing. Maybe I will just try it one more time. Okay, let me view it like this. I have to do this. I have to view it. Now if I come to my law activity page, refresh it, it will also show you viewed the object, get object. You viewed the object, what object you viewed, that information is also going to be captured. So no escaping here. So if this has been turned on, each and every information is going to be captured. But a word of caution, the log information is going to be huge. You have to make sure you are ready to pay for this. Basically, this is one way of seeing it. Similar way, if you go to your the main screen, cloud logging, and run your query, you should be able to also see that audit information, the data access audit information, audit logs. So let me just refresh it. It's going to be a little lag there in showing it. So let's just wait for it to show up the information. It usually takes longer time. Why it is going in the back? Okay, let me just click on jump to now. Okay, let me try it. 814 folks. 814, these are all the logs. So if I just see bucket listing, so if I just expand this, you'll come to know the details. So what type of logs? Audit log. So who did listing of the bucket? Complete details, I get it. So this is how you get it, and it's also going to show it is data access log. This is data access log. So now, because data access log is only going to be for 30 days, what I do is basically show matching thing. Only my data access logs, nothing else. No bucket creation, no bucket deletion. Only this part. What I will do is I will export it and keep it for a longer time. So how do I do it? So basically create a sink. So export all this information to my sink. A sink can be a possible, there are good amount of possible sinks available. So sink 1. What are my sinks available? These are my sinks available, folks. This could be also a possible question. So uh, a Google Cloud Storage bucket, a BigQuery, a PubSub topic, or you have a new feature called as cloud logging bucket. So there's also a bucket. This is not a bucket, your Google Cloud Storage bucket. So this is only to store log information. So you can store it in these 4 GCP products. And if you want to export it to some third-party stuffs like Splunk, you can also do it. Or you want to export it to another GCP project. Why? Because you have one DevOps project, common DevOps project, where all the log information needs to be captured. You can also do it there. So in the other project, you choose Google Cloud Storage, PubSub topic, or BigQuery in that project. That is also something possible. So these are the different types of logs or sync available. BigQuery, if you want to do some analytics on top of it. Google Cloud Storage, if you want to do it for an auditor who does not know SQL, that's another thing. PubSub is going to be the right thing for any third-party integration. So from PubSub, you send it to another this thing. Usually you can do it. Splunk, if you see it, Splunk also relies on PubSub only. So just say Splunk, but you have to use an PubSub topic to do it. If you directly use PubSub topic, you mention the PubSub topic and send it. So possible sources, or sorry, sinks are these things. It's worth adding it in the cheat sheet. So possible cloud, possible sinks to store uh, cloud logging, cloud data access logs in our cloud storage for external auditor, no SQL knowledge. BigQuery. So basically, analyst, data analyst who have SQL knowledge, with SQL knowledge. Now, some third party, if you want to integrate with third party, which we don't even know the name, so any third party integration for third party integration. But if I just leave it in pub sub topic, what is going to happen, folks? How long it's going to retain? How long is going to retain this log information? If I just leave it in pub sub, any idea, folks, how long this log information is going to be there? 7 days. 7 days max. 7 days only. So it's not going to even serve. It's just a intermediate layer only. So you have to keep it for, if you want to keep it for longer, third party integration, you have to do it basically. Splunk is one thing, and you also something called as, now there is a new feature called as cloud logging bucket. You can create a cloud logging bucket. There's going to be two buckets by default, so you can use either one of them, or you can create your own cloud logging bucket. So those are the options which you get, folks. So, and retain it. And if it's for auditors, if you have exported to Google Cloud Storage, keep that in bucket and use your sign URL to share the access. To share access. So a continuation of what we saw in our Google Cloud Storage class. That is also something you can do. So that's how you create a sink and use it. So there are two storages which is going to come, the cloud logging bucket, which you see here. So there are two buckets which is going to be there by default, which you cannot delete it. This is your required one. Required one. What it shows? 400 days. Locked. You cannot do anything. And there's one more bucket which is for 30 days of retention. You can dump it and you can clean, do all those stuffs basically. And you see this cost, all those details, volume. So make sure only when you want something you do create it. You can also create your own logging bucket. This bucket and your Google Cloud Storage bucket are different, folks. The name bucket is the only thing which is confusing. So demo, what kind of, where you want to keep your log information, and the retention. So what is the retention maximum you can retain? It's going to be for basically it's going to show me, it's going to be basically for 10 years. 10 years, 365 into 10. So maximum you can retain any data for 10 years only. Nothing beyond that, it's of use basically. So that's a small thing which I wanted to share you with respect to data, logging and the various options which you are going to refer to. Very important topic from the exam perspective. So we'll just stop it here. Once we come back, we'll look into the next four products at a very high level called as error reporting, trace, profiler, and debugger. So take a 10 minutes break and come back, folks.
This conference will now be recorded.
So the next thing which we want to see is a tool which is going to be helpful for developers. Now before we go into this error reporting part, let's take a scenario. Now there's a website or a web application which has a login screen. So when they enter the username and the OTP, or the username and the password, it shows welcome so and so user, and it shows a login page, or the successfully login page after post login. So usually this is the process. Now recently there's some changes done to the application. There is some issue. The login process is working fine, but it is logging an error message or a warning message after the login has been successfully done. So this application is little popular. Every day around 50,000 people log in basically. So meaning every time a person logs in, one error message is going to be captured or a warning message is going to be there. Now, if 50,000 people has logged in, definitely normal mathematics. So you will have 50,000 entries in your stackdriver logging or your cloud logging option. Why I'm mentioning stackdriver again and again is I saw some LinkedIn post or somewhere in this month only. saying that even in the new exam, the person was still seeing stackdriver only, not cloud operations. So you should not forget the name. So that's the reason I'm trying to emphasize both the terms. So either one of them is the same. It's basically a name change. Whenever any new product is acquired, they keep that product as is for 1 year or 2 year. Later, the company is going to change the name. So that's what has happened now. So, but if you see any documentation, any user interface also, it is still somewhere it's going to show stackdriver only. Google is also slowly changing these changes. So coming back here, so 50,000 entries are going to be there in your cloud logging. Now, as a developer, if you look into it, it's going to be literally impossible for someone to look into 50,000 logs. But what is the main thing here? It is not 50,000 unique log entries uh, or 50,000 different errors. It is only one error which has occurred 50,000 times. So if you can have a tool which can aggregate all the errors and show it as one single line, that's going to be awesome, right? So the same stuff, if you can see like one log information, error during login process, something of that sort, the log details, it shows 50,000 times occurred, only one entry. Now a developer comes and sees here, he's going to be so happy. It's only one error occurred multiple times, no problem, I'm going to fix it, rather than looking into 50,000 entries and figuring it out. It is only one error occurred this many times. Just giving you a aggregated view is always a good choice. So that is basically your cloud error reporting tool. Please note, folks, this is error reporting. You don't have any product called as error report. So sometimes questions on the names also can come into picture. So there's no product called as error report. It's error reporting. So which basically aggregates all the errors and shows it. Now, one important thing to note is monitoring and logging is applied for all GCP services. Kubernetes, Compute Engine, BigQuery, Bigtable, IoT Core, whatever you say, it is going to be there, logging and monitoring. But error reporting, as I mentioned, this is for developers. What will developers do? Usually create applications and they will deploy it where? On a compute option. So something like App Engine Standard, Flexible, Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine, Cloud Functions, Amazon S3 bucket, sorry, Amazon EC2 instance. Those are the stuffs. Basically, the compute options is what you're going to get. So app script is basically more like macros in your Windows uh, um, Office, Microsoft Office. So you also get something called as app script in Google Slides, Google Docs, all those things. So basically, this is available in these compute options only. It is not available, meaning error reporting is not going to be available for Cloud SQL instance. For example, if there's a connection failure or the Google Cloud storage bucket or Cloud SQL instance is having some issue, Cloud SQL instance, too many connections, that information will not be shown, aggregated and shown in your error reporting. This is only for compute options. And it is also very limited to the languages it's going to use. So it has to be written in one of these languages only. So just because something is running in App Engine, you will not get everything. So sorry, not App Engine. So if it's written in App Engine Flexible using C language, it's not going to log it. So if it's like virtual machine and you have installed inside the virtual machine MySQL instance, that information is not going to be captured. So it has to be written basically a web application in simple terms. So an application there, only then you will see the error reporting. So how does that screenshot look? We'll see it in our project also if there's anything like that. But I wanted to use this as a backup. Uh, a good information shown here. So if you just go to cloud, here the screenshot shows stackdriver error reporting. Now when we go, it should be showing like cloud operations or cloud error reporting. Here it shows there was an exception called as IO exception, no such file, or so something like file not found exception. Basically, this has occurred 24 times. 24 times seen in a virtual, in a Kubernetes cluster. Seen in a Kubernetes cluster 24 times. So if you want to know the further details, you just click on that and look into it. Basically, that's how you look into the aggregated report, and this is only for applications running in those options which we saw, and it has to be usually an application written in one of these languages: Java, .NET, PHP, Python, Ruby, and Go. Basically those 7 languages. Now if I try to see it in my page, let me see in my project, error reporting. Let's see how it's going to show. So it just shows us error reporting. Let's see, do we have any information? Okay, there's one information which is captured only once. Maybe if I see it for 30 days, good. I get some good amount of information. There's an error, unhealthy pod, failed pod. Basically, by looking at itself, you can say it is basically something to do with my uh, Kubernetes related stuff. So this error has occurred 7 times. 7 times. So if I just look into this details, basically you will see 7 entries which is from your cloud logging. So you want to directly look into the log, just click on it. It's going to take it to your cloud logging or stackdriver logging. You look into the error, see the stuff. So it's going to put all the filter, the necessary filter to see that, and it's going to get you the details. So that's how the cloud error reporting is going to be really helpful for you to get an aggregated view. And if you want to get the fine details of it, you can also see it. You can also see it here. So 7 entries, all those things. And once you feel, yes, this is really a bug, what you do as a developer, you want to track your work, right? So you can raise this as a issue. So you acknowledge it. When you click on acknowledge, an optional option is you may have a tracking system in the organization like Bugzilla, Jira, or something. You can add the issue tracking URL and acknowledge. So that way, you track it. Once it is closed, it's going to be closed in your tracking system. So good stuff. And don't expect too much of tracking here. It's just a very basic version of it. Basic version of it. So that's basically your error reporting option, folks, which gives you an aggregated view. Aggregated view. The next product is basically again for developers, Trace. So the name may not be so easy to relate, but any latency issues with your applications, something which is deployed on App Engine or maybe a managed instance group. So this is available. It's going to collect only latency informations from App Engine and from Google Load Balancer. So if it is going to be global load balancer, definitely it's going to be a web application. So which is installed on groups of virtual machines on Cloud Run, Cloud Functions. There are lots of backends available, right? So it has to be basically a web application. So it can find out the latency and find out what is happening. For example, if I take this microservice architecture, more of a e-commerce one. So I log in to the front end, more like your Amazon website. I look for the product catalog. If I search for iPhone or some electronic gadgets, something, it's going to show me some recommendation service. People who purchase iPhone also purchase XYZ. Then if you like it, you add that to the shopping cart, check it out, do the payment. And if you're using a different credit card, different country's credit card, the currency conversion is going to happen. You check it. If the payment is successful, you do the shipping. So there are lots of microservices like this. Now, if somebody says the customers, lots of customers raise a concern that the checkout service, or whenever I check out the product, it is taking good amount of time. There's a slowness there. If you hear something like that, basically it's a latency issue. So now what you do is you can turn on this latency part and you can come to know what is the main reason. So and find out, okay, it is checkout service. If you can say this service, the developer can find out, okay, in checkout what is the issue. The person is going to go and check out the issue and figure it out. So That's where the latency or the trace comes into picture. So it's a distributed system. uh, you can find out latency very easily by just running this. So basically this is nothing but a telemetry information, so capturing the latency, and it's going to sample it and give it. It is going to look something like this, folks. In your console, if you just go to your console, it's going to show here. Now if you see here, most of my requests are finishing in 150k milliseconds, but there is one exceptional one which is taking around more than 200 kind of a stuff, basically some hipster checkout service or something, which is going to take longer time. So now I can easily find this is the outlier. I know what is the URI. As a developer, I can go and fix it. I can fix it. So which is going to be really helpful to fix the stuffs. Again, a developer specific tool. I had done once an application using App Engine, and it had some lots of URLs. Just give me a minute. Just apologies, folks. Some delivery stuffs. So coming back to this app, the latency part, it's going to give you a complete picture about the latency uh, when this is, and this is going to be automatic in App Engine. So you don't need to do anything extra. It's going to just show the moment you do something in your App Engine, it comes up automatically. And I've also seen it shows up in Cloud Functions. I need to verify it, but App Engine, it shows automatically. If you just deploy an App Engine, it's going to show the latency part. So that way, as a developer, I can find the issue and do it. So maybe a quick mind map which you can do is anything related to latency. The product which can be used in GCP is going to be latency. Sorry, it's going to be basically your cloud trace. Let me see whether I can see something, show you in my project. Trace. So for trace overview, let me see whether it shows anything. So it does not show anything, but this is a nice visualization. A nice visualization which they show. So how it looks. Now they put a filter, understand what is happening, what is the URL which is having issue. Now they find out there is an outlier. They get to know that and they fix it. So, and usually it's recommended you run this report for at least 7 days to understand the entire stuffs, basically. So that's your trace. Again, a developer tool. The next one is, do I have debugger? Yes. So the next developer tool, so since it's developer, I'm just giving you a quick overview, folks, so that you just know how it works basically. So The profiler is basically you're monitoring, logging, all those things captures the information at an infrastructure level. But if I have deployed a code and that code has some memory leak, if you have seen in your engineering this thing, the first semester, everybody would have learned C. So you would have seen free memlock, free mem, all those things. So basically what it was doing is it was releasing the memory back. So if the code is going to have some memory leak, it's just holding it, not releasing it, or that kind of a stuff. If you want to find it out, you can easily use this tool called as Cloud Profiler, and currently it supports only 4 languages. This is again language specific: Java, Go, Python, and Node, and it can be used in GCP using Compute Engine or Kubernetes Engine, or in any VMs, folks. Even in on-premise, you can use it. It's just a small agent. It is totally free. You can just install it, and it's going to show you the memory leak. And there are lots of open source profilers also available, so you can use it. So basically, this is again for uh, finding out any memory leaks. So before you go into production, you find it out, basically. And the last product, which I really used in the past when I was developing applications, debugger. Now, before I go into this word debugger, you may be tested on some few things in the exam. So don't always have a mind map in this context. Debug an application is not equivalent to cloud debugger. So let me add that in the cheat sheet. So debug your workload does not mean cloud debugger. Debug, it basically means troubleshoot. Something is wrong, so do a troubleshooting. So it could be something else also. So read the question thoroughly and then take a call. So just because debug word is there, I will use debugger. No. See, understand the question and then do a call. So what this basically debugger does is, a web application is running and there is some issue which is only happening in production, which you're not able to replicate in your local environment. So what you will do usually, you'll try to get the code from the production and try to run it in local system and find it out. Even then, if you do it, you may not replicate it. Maybe it happens only if the traffic is real data, it's going to happen. So in such scenarios, what you can do is you can basically put breakpoints or output the value of those stuffs and see what is the thing. Say maybe there's a variable or a value which you wanted to see, username, password, you enter it, but password is always coming empty. So you wanted to see the output of that then and there in the live production code. So you can use that. So you can do a live debugging using this debugger tool. So let me just show you, because we had done app engine, so we can try to do it. Not a complete demo, but just to give you a flavor of how it looks like. So if I go to my debugger, remember we had deployed some app engines. So since I have stopped the service, maybe I'll just go and start the service. So let me enable the app engine, and I see some services which we had deployed. So I can just go ahead and use this. So remember your books, the bookshelf code and all which we did. So the same code you can go and debug it if you want. So let me just refresh it. Okay, there's a something which is, it's still enabling. Let me see whether it is enabled. It is enabled. Now let me just go to my debugger and I can see the codes deployed in App Engine. Why it's not showing? Or maybe I have deleted the code. So the code, I deleted the folder. So maybe I'll quickly deploy one, folks, in front of you just to show you how it works basically. Just 2 minutes, we should be able to do it. Just to give you an idea how it looks like. Hope I have the code. Yes. A standard environment. Uh, Node. Okay. So I have to change it to. So Node 16 is not available. 14 is available. So I'll just do gcloud app deploy. Gcloud app deploy minus version 1 minus q. So it should just deploy the stuffs in 2 minutes. Once it is deployed, we should be able to see the code server.js, package.json, all those code in my debugger user interface, and I can put breakpoints and do all those things. And by putting a breakpoint, I will know what is the value. And I do this live debugging on the deployed code force, not somewhere else. I directly do it on the production. So that way I don't need to replicate or do anything, and the end user will not even feel somebody is debugging the application. The It's going to be so seamless. So one of the cool features which I would say is live debugging. So you don't even need to mention anybody something. Okay, what is wrong? Okay. So package.json. Okay, I mentioned it as 10. So there were different versions which I was mentioning. So let's deploy this. So one file gets uploaded, um, then I should be able to run it. So I will be able to debug it and see the output and easily fix it. It's going to help the developers to a great extent. Let's wait for a minute and two or two. So then we should be all good to see the debugger part. Uh, and currently the languages are also again limited. Now if you see throughout the stuffs, the language was really a constraint there. So Java, Python, Go were there in most of the languages. Most of the services which we have seen, trace, error reporting, profiler, and debugger. So that's the reason why I call these products are developer or developers. The remaining two products, monitoring and logging, as for operation guys. So let me see whether my app is deployed. Couple of seconds more, we should be able to see it. And we have only one product. After this, we'll finish it and we'll jump into a quiz and then jump into our module 9, more of migration related stuffs. And we will also do a demo mostly tomorrow. I'm not sure, we may run short of time. So mostly tomorrow we'll do a demonstration, migrate for Anthos demo also. So the stuff is deployed. Now if I just refresh the screen, so deployed app engine code. Oh, I have to change this. Okay, okay. I have to change it. I was not knowing this. Okay. So now version 1 is what I deployed. So what and all has the code been gone? So our server.js code, the same thing which you had done. So you see it. Then package.json. So all the, and your app.yaml. So everything is there. Now, if you want to do any debugging, you can put something called as a, a breakpoint at any of the line. So it's not going to stop at that point. So it's going to just output the information. What is the value of handle request? What is the value of www variable? So it's going to show you those details. So that's how easy it becomes when you're doing debugger, using debugger for live debugging of your stuffs. And you can put log informations also, console.log or print statement. And those things are going to be valid only for 24 hours. It's not going to write it into the actual code, but it's going to be only like a temporary layer which you are going to create. If anything comes, you will be seeing the output here in the system itself, basically. So that's the use of debugger only for web applications written in these languages. Basically 8 languages, sorry, 7 languages. So that's all about stackdriver, or now called as cloud operations. Any questions so far, folks? Today you people were so quiet. I don't know what was the reason. uh, so any questions on stackdriver, folks? Let me know. As what was it clear, or is there any questions related to stackdriver or cloud operations? Okay, thank you for the confirmation, Mangesh. So let's look into the next product, DLP, uh, data loss prevention. What does this do basically? Sensitive informations are there, and if you were to mask or uh, tokenize it, you're going to use this product. And I hear this product very much uh, asked in the exam. So let's do little more deep dive to understand it. First, let's understand what is this product all about. Basically, to classify and redact a sensitive information. What is redact? So if you have a credit card number for 12-digit number, where the first 8 digits should be masked, dot 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 or star 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 star, that's redact your sensitive information. And you should also be able to classify it, whether it's a sensitive data or a non-sensitive data. So that is also something possible. So not all, sorry, not 12-digit. So it's a 16-digit, right? A 16-digit credit card number, the first 12 bits or the first 12 digits, if you were to mask it, that's going to be called as redaction. First of all, you should be able to classify that 16-digit number as a credit card. Not all 16-digit numbers are credit card, right? So it has to classify that also. So this is the product which can do that. Data loss prevention, DLP. Uh, I'll add a word here, folks. Very important. Uh, Data loss prevention. I also saw this in the exam. Uh, the previous batch students also mentioned they saw something on this. So to uh, to redact any sensitive information like email, phone number, credit card number, and so on. Very important. I'll put a word also. It's just a product question, folks. It's just a product question. So what and all it can do basically. So tokenizing, redacting, it can easily be able to do it, and it can also work on textual data and also on image data in conjunction with your ML APIs. So it can do that basically, and it uh, has few sources which it can easily rely on. For example, your BigQuery, your Google Cloud Storage. So it can use these as a source to redact your stuff. So if you have some sensitive data already in BigQuery, just go and enable your data loss prevention API and start using it. Simple. Start using it. Let me show you a live demo on this. You can also give a try. It works actually. So first I'll show a live demonstration which is available in Google's website itself. Then we'll see how we can use this in our BigQuery and Google Cloud Storage. Basically hiding the information, sensitive information. So let's close this unwanted screens. So if I go to my module 8, data loss prevention, DLP. Yeah, this is the one. Where it is. Edit bookmark. Oh, I put it in module 7. My bad. Okay, it's okay. So this is the URL. You can also give a try, folks. You can also give a try. It's going to work. Now, this is a text. It has already identified certain informations. So it's likely a phone number. It is likely an email ID. And this is also a very likely a credit card number. Somewhere they would have mentioned the thing. So it is able to do that kind of a classification. And if you want further, you can redact it basically. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a live demo, removing all this information. It shows you very likely it is a credit card number. So let me type. As I type it, it's going to find it out very easily. So hello everyone. Uh, I would like to invite to a technical session on Google Cloud Platform. My phone number is, and I wanted to trick the system. I wanted to make the system fool. I think I can fool it if I do something like this, but the system does not get fooled. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to put a phone number, but I'm going to put something called as PAN number, not my PAN number. Somebody who has put it in on their website in Google's search. Somebody has put somebody's PAN number, so I'm just going to use this PAN card. So there are people in still who are not aware some sensitive information should never be put. So they have put it. So if I take this one, this person, so Manikandan Durai. So this is a valid PAN card number, folks. People still are not aware some informations are sensitive, which is easily available. Maybe not sure whether this person put it or somebody else put it. So I'm just copying this. Oh yeah, I can download this 1 minute. I'll download this basically and call this as demo.png. So what I will do is I'll use my Vision API, upload this. So upload this image, say I'm not a robot. It's going to do OCR. So it has also done facial recognition. That's good. So text. So one of the information which it has captured beautifully is the PAN card. So I'm just going to copy this, go paste it. My phone, okay, it has a white space. Let me just do this. So I'm going to say it is like my phone number is this. Please reach out. Please reach out to me. Something like this. Now I have tried to trick the system, but the system is very smart. It says it's possibly Indian PAN number for an individual. So that is the level of accuracy the system works very clearly. So, and we also saw how we can use this in conjunction with Vision API. So if you can pass the same information, image, pass it to Vision API. It's going to do OCR. So once it does the OCR, optical character recognition, that information can be sent to DLP, and it can redact the information or classify that it is having a sensitive information. So, and I would say, and the fee for the course is, I'm just going to use this simple stuff just to find out what it shows. 16 July 1983 is 16. Now when I do this, let me see whether the system is able to capture that information. Is it updated? Uh, and the phone number is, and the email is user@gmail.com. Okay, the date of birth, it is not capturing it. Maybe it is not recognizing it in this format. It's not recognizing a date of birth actually. So, okay. So, or should I do something like this? No, it's not detecting that. Something has to be it is likely, no, it's just a generic number it is saying. Let me see whether it works like this. No. Okay, you want me to try that? 1986. It still shows as generic, so maybe it does not have that. Maybe with the free with the in this demo they may not have enabled that basically, but date of birth can be captured as a sensitive information. It can do it, but here I'm not able to do it. So this is how you can easily show your stuffs using DLP. So this is a cool demo which you can use live to show anything. So now with respect to this credit card, right, just to show you, if I remove everything, it shows that it is very likely it's a credit card. Now, every credit card has a checksum logic. So if I make it as just a 2, what is going to happen? It just shows it's just a generic number. So the checksum validation is also very, very important. So that's an important thing which here. So maybe you can give a try with any of your expired credit card. You can see it, it's going to show it basically. I don't have one expired credit card in front of me. Otherwise, I would have shown you this. So, but there was a credit card information already here, so hence thought of sharing it with you. So this is how you do it in your demo. Now if you were to do this in your project, basically you have to enable the API. So DLP, data loss prevention. Very high chance you may get a question on this. So detect and protect sensitive information. Enable this, and it's just a product related question. That's it. Done the information. So I have my this thing enabled. Now where and all I can use it. So basically there is a setting somewhere here. I forgot it. It was where uh, security, data loss prevention. So if you come to data loss prevention, you can run jobs, folks. You can run jobs. So where the job will is going to detect and show you the stuffs. So in inspection, so where you have kept the data also, you can mention it. So currently the data can be stored in Google Cloud Storage, BigQuery, data store, hybrid, meaning basically the combination is what I would say. I'm not sure what does hybrid means here. So BigQuery Google Cloud Storage data store is a good choice where you keep the data and you want to scan for it. So you can scan it easily and get the stuffs showing that whether it is having a sensitive information or not. easily, and basically use built-in stuffs. So it is called as info types. So you can also create, let me just show DLP GCP info types. Basically the different types of stuffs which you can classify, detect. There are built-in info types available. For example, if I can get the various info type detector reference or the base. These are the stuffs, folks. Advertising ID, age, credit card number. So I never thought it is going to be 19 digit. Okay. So credit card 12 digit to 19 digit. Date of birth. It has that option also. Uh, these are the built-in info types which you get. So how this basically works behind the scene, some kind of pattern matching and some amount of machine learning. And this info type is not something generic. So if you want to see in India, so what are the stuffs which can detect? Aadhaar number, GST number, PAN card number, it gets that details easily. So similarly for different countries, it has different stuff. So Google keeps on adding it. Now, if you want to add your own info type, you can also create it. You can also create it where you create your own logic to do that. So you can also have your customized info type possible. So if you already have a data in BigQuery or in Google Cloud Storage, how can you scan? I wanted to show you that. So if I go to Google Cloud Storage, either you come here and do it. That is one way. Create a job. Or if you already have a data like this, you just click on this three dots, scan with DLP, data loss prevention. So this is another option where it is going to quickly take you to that job page. Same thing. It goes to come to security, data loss prevention. You fill in the details, but the remaining details are already filled for you. Just go run it, scan, and it's going to tell you the stuffs there. This is one way. The second thing is if you go to your BigQuery, if you have a BigQuery table, you can scan the table content. Hope I have one table. I don't have one table. Let me just quickly, or I can use a public table. Mm. So search for, I have to add a data, public data. NYC, view the data. Just trying to show you how you can scan. So now my project is added. Now I open a table. So this is my table content, details, preview, all those things. Now, if you want to basically scan this content for any sensitive information, very simple. Click on this export and you have an option of scan with DLP. So now if you do it again, this one, it's going to again come to your DLP jobs page where the storage type is going to be BigQuery, the table details, everything is going to be mentioned. You start running it. So you start running it, it's going to show you the sensitive information, basically. So maybe I can show you one on a data which is going to have some sensitive information. So should I take city? Let me just type for city bike stations. Let's look at it. Do we have any sensitive information? Station credit card is not going to be there. No. Let me see for some credit card. Okay, credit card defaults. Now this is also no people just need to have one data. Austin crime. No. Baseball. Okay, I don't have any data which I can show. Okay, census. Most of the public data would be actually the sensitive information would have been already removed. So I don't see one. I don't see one. Okay, let me quickly download a data. So let me download a public data and show you how it works. Uh, so I can just go to our this thing itself. This is important. That's the reason I wanted to show you how it looks. So let me just go to big data session. Our data set, we had some Avro file. So there was some username, email ID, all those things. Let me just download it. I've downloaded it in my other tab. So let me just quickly create a table, upload it from my local system, downloads Avro demo users. That's it. Done. Now this data is definitely is going to have some credit card numbers also. Uh, so let me see. So one of the sensitive information is email ID, IP address. So credit card, I have some credit cards. So let me see whether it's going to be really a good credit card number. Yeah, it is. There are a good amount of sensitive information. So now what I will do is I will export scan with DLP. It's going to take around 2 or 3 minutes or sometimes 5 minutes to show you the output. So scan data. So resource location, you can put it as any. Let me put it as any. And the location details completely has been captured here. Go ahead and scan. So maximum 1000 rows is what you want to scan, you are saying. So how many rows we have here? We have luckily 1000 rows only. So let's go ahead and use this, not this one. So our demo users, scan it. Identifying, exclude date of birth. You can mention, I'm not mentioning anything, I'm just going to leave it as default. Identify fields, credit card. Oh, it's in a specific format. That's fine. Continue. So these are the info types which you get, folks. Around 14 info types which is going to be captured. So, and if you want, you can also mention what specifically you want. So I will mention basically credit card is already captured. If specific country stuff is there, you can use that. So if I use India, so for India, the PAN card, all those things could be helpful. So if you want, you can do it, or also your custom info type, as I mentioned, you can create it. You can create it. So those are some options. Now let me run this. And how you want to do, save it to BigQuery or want to publish it, you can do those details or just notify by email. Either one of them you can mention it. So I can say save it to BigQuery means I have to mention the table details, all those things. So let me mention my project ID. So my data set name is going to be scanned data. That's my table. That's it. Continue. Now none. So I don't want to schedule it. So I'm just going to run it right now. This is my job, which is going to basically scan for any sensitive information and dump everything into my BigQuery table. Create it, confirm. It is possible to cost to grow rapidly. That's fine. It's a free trial account. So let's wait for a few minutes, and we should also see a table if things are all fine, basically. So it's going to also say us how many findings it has found. So it's going to be really a good one once it comes up. So by the time it finishes it, it's going to take some time. So that's basically on our big data session, folks. So our sorry, not big data, develop, developers and management tools section, the module 8. Now there's some few questions. We'll finish it, and I will give a lead for tomorrow's session, which is basically going to be about more on migration strategies, all those things. I already have one demo which I'm going to planning to show you, migrate for Anthos. But just don't go with but name, folks. The name Anthos is just super they're just marketing it like anything. It's just migrate to containerization. Basically, from a virtual machine, how do you containerize it without doing any Dockerization and all? How do you do it? Such kind of a demo, we'll see it in tomorrow's class. So now let's go to the quiz. So everybody can put it to your private mode and the private chat and start giving me the response. Your company's architecture is shown in the below, shown in the diagram. You want to automatically and simultaneously deploy new code, any new code to each Kubernetes cluster. There's two Kubernetes cluster, one in region 1, one in region 2. Uh, you want to deploy it to both of them simultaneously. What could be the option which you can use? Code deployment. What would you use? So we had done something very similar in our CI/CD process. Basically, it's a CI/CD process is what they're asking. Anil B has given it correctly. Deepak Bandari got it correctly. One wrong answer. Others, folks. Okay. So basically, CI/CD process should be there. So for CI/CD process, what and all you need? Mangesh got it correctly. So what and all you need? You need a Git repository. That is one. So any Git repositories, nothing mentioned. So uh, after Git, you should have a CI/CD engine like Cloud Build and Jenkins. So once you have that, it's going to build a container, store it in a registry, and do the deployment. So Cloud Build or Jenkins is the one which is going to fulfill this kind of a requirement. So Jenkins is mentioned, Cloud Build is not there. So basically A turns out to be a good choice. The other options does not work. D is just a partial solution. Just because the image is there in the container, I cannot deploy it. I have to do a kubectl apply -f deployment.yaml or kubectl set image. I have to do something of that sort. So it has to be done via a CI/CD engine like Cloud Build and Jenkins. So Cloud Shell is not a good fit for production stuff. This is for our self-learning, all those things. So, and I have never seen something like federated mode in a Kubernetes. So I've not explored that. I'm not sure whether such a thing exists. So looking into those options, option A turns out to be a better choice, as most of you mentioned. Moving on to the next question. Your CI/CD process is shown in the below diagram. Which GCP service should you use in box 1, 2, 3, and 3 boxes? What should be the solutions, folks? In the right order, you have to mention 1, what product, 2, what product, 3 product. That's how you have to mention it. Again, CI/CD, basically. Vivek got it correctly. Deepak Bandari got it correctly. Ankit got it correctly. Others? This is an important one, folks. We did this demo. We did this demo. Sripal got it correctly. Good. Anil B got it correctly. Took time for some of you. So good. Anil B got it correctly. Good. So let's look into the options, folks. So these are really tricky questions, basically. Google Cloud Storage, PubSub, Compute Engine. Now, if you look into this option and then try to do it, it's maybe difficult. Rather than that, directly look into the architecture first. So one, two. So from container registry, something should go to container registry, basically. So you have to push an image to GCR. So what can do? Docker build, sorry, Docker push can do it. Gcloud builds submit can do it. So basically, this option should be cloud build is what you can get quickly by looking into the architecture. So it goes to GCR. Then Jenkins comes, which is currently hosted in a compute engine. It can be also hosted on a Kubernetes engine. Then it's going to do a deployment to where? Kubernetes. So cloud build Kubernetes over. So what this could be? Basically your source repository, cloud source repository. So D looks like a good choice. So cloud source repositories are there in other places also, but putting your data to a, it's already in cloud source repository. Then if you again put it to Google Cloud Storage, it's of no use. That option is not going to work there. So option D is a straightforward option. So all credit goes to the demos which we did, the CI/CD process, where cloud source repository, cloud build, uh, cloud source repository, sorry, my bad. Cloud source repository, cloud build, GCR, and Kubernetes engine. We did not use Jenkins, Kubernetes engine we use. So that was the same kind of a demo which they are asking in the question. So D is a good choice, as most of you mentioned. So that's basically the end of this module, module 8. Let's go back to our scanner or the DLP demo which we are doing. So it has found out good amount of findings, folks. So 1,000 entries of IP address found out. 984 email address it has found. Now you may ask me a question. So here there were basically how many entries? 1,000 rows. So if 1,000 rows are there, 1,000 email IDs it should have found out is what you will ask. You see most of the email IDs. By why only 984? Maybe because there is some data which does not have an email ID. So let me just get that first name. So let's just query it and check it out whether Google has really worked it or not. Okay, it's not showing up. So click on details or schema, first name, last name, and I want to put a clause where email ID is null. So if I query this, oh, there's nothing null. Okay, is empty. Okay, I very clearly get 16 rows. The 16 rows for which the email ID is empty. So which makes the math very clear. Why only 984? Then I have credit card. Very nicely found out. Almost like 631 records it has found out. Good. So similarly like that it has found out few details easily. So this is how you see it. Now if I just refresh this page, I should see a table which it has created. That is my understanding. Let's just see whether it has created the table. Yes, it has created the table. Let me just do a preview of it. So it shows how much data is there. Oh, this all the findings it has found it. So it's a slightly a complex table where it has found out all the details, email, how many, all those details. So the data is dumped. Now you do the next action, what you want to do, basically, whether you want to mask it or remove it, uh, or partially show it, you take a call. So that's on your DLP, folks, very important. And that's the reason I showed you various demos, how it works basically. So now I guess we have 20 minutes. So what I will do is I'll just open up the next module, just give a lead to what we are going to do tomorrow, and we'll stop it. Maybe we'll stop it at 5 minutes early. So let me get my other slide. I'll update the slide, the updated slide, in next few minutes after the class ends. So module 9. So let me put it in a presentation mode. So this is our last module, last but one module. The last module is going to be preparing ourselves for the exam. So where various tricks, tracks are going to be discussed. So in this module, this is like our stepping stone. Now we have learned how to build various architectures. Now we'll talk about how we can migrate stuffs from on-prem to GCP, from other cloud to GCP. What are the stuffs which people usually do when they are migrating? So that's what we are going to see here. Some concepts are going to be theoretical, some are going to be practical. So we'll do, because we have only 20 minutes. Tomorrow when we start, I'll show you how we can do a migration, live migration. Because I have only one system, GCP, I'll use a virtual machine. From a virtual machine, how I can have the same stuff running in Kubernetes engine, we will see it tomorrow. So that is called as migrate for Anthos. So let's get started with our module 9, migration. So the first and the foremost thing when it comes to migration is, just because there's a saying in English actually, so if you have a hammer in hand, the whole world looks like a nail. Now the hammer which you have in your hand is GCP. So you'll be so excited to do a migration project. So, but don't be in a hurry. That's the key part. Don't be in a hurry to do a migration. Do a complete assessment. This is very, very important. So what does this assessment means? So you may have a small, it may be for a small SMB company, a mid-scale organization, small mid-scale business, or it could be a large enterprise. So depending on the kind of organization, the number of virtual machines running on-prem may vary from few like 20 servers to 20,000 servers. So not all servers needs to be migrated. So you have to do some kind of an assessment whether should this workload be moved or not. Should this retain in GCP? Should this be retaining in on-prem, or it should be moved to GCP, or some few things should be retired. So you have to do this kind of a stuff. So luckily you have some good amount of tools which you get, and Google also acquired a product last year called as Stratozone. So these tools basically run on the on-premise data center or on the other cloud providers account, and you get a report saying that, okay, this is your complete infrastructure inventory list. So you have X number of Windows servers, Y number of Linux servers, of which these are running on VMware, vSphere in this specific version, complete details, the inventory of your data center it's going to give, and the utilization of it. And it's going to also say the vCPU memory use, what is the mapping equivalent to that in GCP. A complete report it's going to give, and there are n number of tools. So Stratozone now is part of GCP. So Google has acquired it last year. Now you can use Stratozone if you want to do this. So, and there are other tools also available called as Cloud Physics, Cloud Amize, Risk Networks, all those things. These are assessment tools only. please remember, assessment tools only. They just give you a report. How does a report look like? So I have a screenshot of cloud physics, which I basically got it from one of the LinkedIn post. The person had posted it. So basically, what you get here is Cloud Physics has ran a report on an on-premise system, and it has captured there are 5 virtual machines running. Uh, if you run it on virtual machine on-premise only for 1 year, you are going to pay around 13,000 K per year is what it says. But the same 5 machines, if it is run and executed or sorry provision in GCP, is going to cost you around $7,800 is what it indicates. So roughly close to 60% is like 40% reduction is what it shows. And it also gives you a further report out of those 5. What are the servers running Windows? What are the servers which are running Linux? It gives you that details. The cost, itemized cost, what is the equivalent cost if you do it in GCP? So a Windows server on-premise is going to cost you 3,913, but if you do it on GCP, it's going to be 2,400. So the vCPU details completely, you are going to get this details. Now, once you get this complete details, it's more like a report. You submit this to the higher management. So showing this price information definitely will make them think twice or thrice. Yes, maybe it's a good choice to move to cloud. This is one way of doing it. The second thing is, if the on-premise systems is getting, the hardware is coming to end of life. Usually 5 years is the hardware time for most of the hardwares in on-prem. So whenever there's an hardware refresh, instead of refreshing the hardware, you can move that to GCP. That entire infrastructure stuffs you can move to GCP. That's another way of doing it. So you show a report like this to the management. Once they say green signal, yes, let's go with the migration, then you basically come up with an assessment stuff. Like you have already done an assessment, so they have told yes, we can migrate it, we'll go with the migration. So you are going to use different assessment migration assessment strategy. One of the strategy which Google uses is called as 7R. 7 is always an auspicious number. So uh, usually if you search for this R's in migration, you'll get 5. Some cloud provider has 4, something of that sort. Gartner report usually says 5. Google has 7. The first 2 is actually not a it's not a migration itself. It's basically a strategy. Now you got a report, 5 servers, 50 servers, or 50,000 servers, whatever the number be. Now there are certain servers which you cannot even migrate it because they are legacy systems. They are running mainframe, business critical. Moving it to GCP does not make sense. So simply it's a strategy. Don't even migrate it. Just retain that workload in on-premise. Let it be there. That's the first R, retain your stuffs. The second type of R is retire your system. So how do I identify it? Now, by doing this assessment, I have figured it out. There are 2 servers in my entire on-premise, in my data center, in my on-premise data center, which is not used itself. Maybe the servers were used for some internal purpose, maybe a birthday party celebration, some kind of extracurricular activities in the organization, birthday, anniversary announcement. For doing all those things, they have created a server which is going to send an email notification or some internal intranet portal. Now, since most of us these days are working from home, this portal may not be heavily used. This may be used only when you go to office. Now, it will say the server's utilization, all those things. You will get an idea. Okay, this server is not a good choice to be even retained. Better retire it. So what you can do is a small strategy. This is what I usually recommend. Uh, if you get to know that this server is underutilized, simply shut it down. Simply shut it down, and for 2 days or 3 days or for a week, if no employee or no business groups in the organization raises an IT ticket saying that why the system is down, if nobody raises it, it's a clear indication the system is of no use. Better dismantle it, use the infrastructure for something else, totally retire it. is the option which you can use. So this is all based on your assessment report which you have got. So retire it. Don't even migrate it. Don't even retain it. Totally remove it. So basically, it's basically more of a strategy. It's not a migration. It's basically a strategy. Then there are going to be certain good amount of workloads which can be lifted and shifted to your cloud as is. No even single line of code change. For example, Apache Edge Base running in GC on-premise, you directly migrate it to Bigtable. Mongo like Redis, use your cloud memory store. A virtual machine, directly do a VM to VM migration. So lift and shift, very minimal change or zero change. So that's the most simplest migration which you can have. Lift and shift or rehost. You're changing the host. Currently it is an on-prem. You change it to GCP. So that's the simplest migration which you can do. And I would strongly suggest always start this option, because I have seen this in my own experience. Sometimes this could be little sentimental also, folks. Now there's an organization who wanted to move to cloud. Now they say let's modernize it and then move to cloud totally. Modernize plus move to cloud. Two steps. If you try to take, you will definitely fail. Take always baby steps. So meaning first move to cloud. Make sure you come have a entrance to the cloud, be in the cloud, then slowly modernize it. So that's going to be a good approach. If you try to do too many things in the migration strategy itself, you may fail, and the failure may be really expensive. So maybe the senior management will say no, let's not go to cloud, let's stay in on-prem itself. So if it is successful, there's always a positive energy, but if it's failure, it may backfire us. So always start simple, take baby steps, basically do lift and shift. Once it is in GCP, right, things becomes much easier. So what you do is, after you lift and shift, slowly do some changes to your system, like re-platform. For example, some small pieces can be changed. If there is a storage component, a file system kind of a stuff, maybe, and it's something to store some images or anything, replace that with your Google Cloud Storage bucket. Slight modifications, you do it so that you may reap the benefit of cloud. So that's going to be little re-platform option. Then if you start seeing the value out of it, move on to the next one, which is little complex, refactoring it. Now you would plan to do something better here, much better. Instead of running it on a virtual machine, a website, why don't you use Cloud Run or App Engine? So now you have to do some changes in the code itself, refactoring your application. So that's where refactoring option comes into picture. The sixth R is going to be replace. So certain products you totally remove it itself. You don't need to have it itself. For example, if you are using a BI tool, a commercial off the shelf BI tool, you dismantle it, don't even use it, use a new product altogether. Looker or Data Studio, you use that in GCP. Or if you're using Grafana in on-premise, which is a monitoring tool, you don't use it, use cloud operations, totally replace it. So that's the option number 6. And option number 7 is the ultimate thing. You totally revamp, build a new system with all the cloud native solutions. So you are using a data warehouse, instead of that you use a BigQuery. You have no machine learning in on-premise, but you bring in machine learning, you bring in streaming data, whatever you want to the modern option, you can do it. So totally a rebuild. Why you are doing this? Because you have gained the confidence over the period by just doing a lift and shift, slowly changing small components, then refactoring it to a great extent, dismantling or removing certain unnecessary components and using GCP stuffs. Now you have an idea, fair idea how the entire system works. Now to be more suitable for the future, you want to bring in some AI capabilities, all those things. So then you totally use rebuild option. So basically this is your 7 R's which is going to be heavily used. Start with rehost, then go to the remaining stuffs. Bring the stuffs to GCP. Once it is in GCP, you can always modernize it. So baby steps. First, bring it to GCP, then modernize it. So bring it in virtual machine format, then modernize it to containers. That's going to be always a good choice. And this is the same concept Anthos also follows. So by this week, you should have the video uploaded in your playlist for Anthos and Istio folks. I'll be doing that. So you should be able to get that idea. So on Saturday, next Saturday, when you come, you should have the Anthos video ready. You can see it yourself. So let me show you some simple examples of rehost, uh, replatform, and refactor so that you get an idea. Now let's assume this is your on-premise system. So you basically have a load users, a load balancer, something like F5, some web servers to serve some static content, which is on a Linux machine, some application server like Tomcat, JBoss, WebLogic, those kind of stuffs, and a database, a traditional database, MySQL. This is your on-premise. Now, if you were to do a lift and shift load balancer, what will you do? Google's global load balancer is there. Web server is there. So instead of one web server, you will have groups of virtual machine, your MIG. Use that. Application server, install Java, .NET, whatever it is on, and also have some application server like JBoss, Tomcat on a virtual machine. Again, groups of servers, do it. You have Cloud SQL, you have MySQL, you go use Cloud SQL option. Now, what you have done, literally VM to VM, load balancer to load balancer. I guess maybe the load balancer, you may not have the same thing in what you had it in on-prem. You may use Google's load balancer, but remaining steps are almost the same. So MySQL to MySQL, easy migration. VM to VM, easy. So this is your lift and shift. Easy, quick, short time you can do it. So if you ask the time, I would say very diplomatically, it may depend on the complexity. So if it is of this sort kind of steps, I would say doing it in like 4 to 5 days, I should be able to do it. So a quick one and a quick win. So that's your rehost option. Replatform and refactor. So the same thing, same on-premise architecture, load balancer, web server, app engine. Now, if I were to do some replacement and also refactoring, what and all I can do? Load balancer, I'll keep it as load balancer only. Then I can have app engine instead of, for my application server, I may have app engine. Dynamic contents are going to be served. Web server is usually for what? Static contents. Why do you need to have a virtual machine for it? I may put it into a Google Cloud storage bucket, which can have better CDN capabilities and all. Now for SQL, I may have better products. I may use two databases refactoring. So I'm going to use Cloud SQL also and some dynamic contents, which is going to be for searching all something, all that kind of purpose, like searching a content quickly. Then I may use data store. Now I have refactored it and also done some replatforming. So this is another option. So now this is little risky. Only if you have good exposure, you can do this kind of a stuff. Assume you have done this rehost, you feel confident. Now you may say to the customer, or if it's your own organization, if I run everything in virtual machine, it will never scale down to zero. It's going to be a cost to us. Why don't you replace it to app engine and storage bucket? They will agree to it. And even if it fails, they're okay. They say we are trying something totally new. It's okay. But if you bring the data to GCP, right, or the entire system to GCP, they are going to retain in GCP. So you are going to also get a job to work on, and they will know again they will not go back to on-prem because they have done a good amount of work to come to GCP. So always start with host or lift and shift, then do anything advanced stuff. A small example on replace and rebuild, and this is not a one-to-one mapping, folks. It's just a small imagination how much complex you can have, sophisticated architecture which you can have. So if you have the same on-premise architecture, I totally don't even consider that. I do totally a new thing. I do streaming, I capture, I will have some machine learning, I have some big, good BI tools, more cloud native solutions. So sky is the only limit. How much advanced components, technologies which you want to use. So in your rebuild, you're going to just get the requirement. The requirement is I should have an application which can send me notifications. I can stream some data. Um, I should be able to see some real-time dashboards, all those things. So you just tell the requirement. I build it based on a complete cloud native solution. If I go with more cloud native solution, it's going to be zero ops. So I may also reap the benefit of scalability. So these are the different strategies which you can use when you are done. So once you have decided the strategy, whether it should be rehost, replatform, refactor, replace, or rebuild, now is the time to use some tools. There are some tools which we are going to use, which we will explore in tomorrow's class. One of the most popular tool which we are going to use in GCP is called as migrate for compute engine, migrate for Anthos. Both are going to be based on an acquisition which Google did called as Velostrata. So on Velostrata itself, we will see one demo confirmed. I tried it, it is working. If I will also try something with migrate for compute engine. If I can make that demo work, I'll show you, because with free trial, there is some quota limit which I'm having issue. So the demo which I show, you should also be able to try it. That is the whole purpose which I'm trying to do. So let's see if I can show you two demos. One demo confirmed, and another demo we have already done it. Migration from database to database. We have done that already. So we'll see more on the migration in tomorrow's class, folks, using a tool called as Velostrata, which was an acquisition which Google did. So let me stop it here, folks. If there's any question, happy to answer. If there's no question, you can drop off. We will continue with our migration. Tomorrow we should be finishing migration stuffs, and also a little bit about the getting started with our examination preparation. So next Saturday is going to be full and full on the case studies. So with the pace which we are going, I would say next Sunday we should be finishing off our modules, basically, is what I say. Maximum next to next, what is next Saturday or Sunday time? So 24th or 31st, we should be all good, basically. So there's something, heard some questions on VM migration. Oh, okay. So if that's the thing which you have heard, so we'll talk about that also. So we'll talk about it. So about the VM migration, I'll just look into some documentation. So maximum, I would say by 31st, sorry, not 31st, 30th of this, yeah, 30th or 6th June maximum we should be finishing our class. So I'll also look into that, Mangesh. Is there anything on VMware? So because I don't have any resource on VMware, but I'll see whether I can get some, at least some theoretical stuffs without showing any demo. If I can get something, I'll talk about that. Thanks for highlighting that.
Mahesh, it
Yeah,
Velas,
Qwik.
I found it on Quick Labs actually. I tried also.
Hmm.
So migrate for VM, Velostrata.
Okay. So migrate
So
for VM, but it is using Amazon if I'm not wrong. You are going to
Amazon,
use
yeah.
AWS. AWS.
AWS, GCP, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
I wanted to show something. I was trying to do something from GCP to GCP, which everybody can try. So I'm not sure everybody has quick lab access. So GCP to GCP also, I was trying to see if it is possible. So if it is not possible, I would definitely, I would have thought of sharing that information only. In quick labs, there is one thing from AWS EC2 to a compute engine, they do it, where you do set up your VPN tunnel, all those things. Maybe at least I can try to show you an architecture there. So either one of them I'm going to show you tomorrow, and also shed some light on VMware migration. All right, folks. Any other questions? So 4 more classes. I guess we should be all good to stop, finish our classes. I don't see any questions. All right, folks. Let's stop it for the day today. So tomorrow we will talk more about migration stuffs. Okay. Thank you, folks.